Jeffrey Epstein. There, we got it out of the way. We said it. That's the entire introduction to this episode because it is going to be a long one filled with information about Jeffrey Epstein. Information you've probably heard a lot of in the past, but now compiled into a succinct, digestible format. So, why waste time creating, a dumb introduction as we usually do that usually ends up with Jeffrey Epstein anyway, when we can just get it out of the way up front. That's right, Jeffrey Epstein. This is the red thread, and we are going to talk about, in excruciating, uncomfortable details, the Epstein Files, and the ultimate question, really at this time, or this point in time, is Donald Trump implicated in the Epstein Files? Stick around to find out. Hello, Jordan. Welcome.
Jackson.
Welcome to your own show.
Well, thank you very much for doing that. That's very exceptional manners, I've got to say. It's also just incredible that we have an introduction that is appropriate for once. Normally, just in case you're a new listener to this, Jackson, one time he made every starting letter of every sentence spell out Jeffrey Epstein and then tricked us all and waited to the end as a big reveal. It was
in many ways, this entire series has been leading up to this point. Every other episode has been like a little breadcrumb leading to the ultimate episode about Jeffrey Epstein. It's like a really fucked up Hansel and Gretel situation going on right now. But you're here with us to find out what is in that gingerbread house. And unfortunately, the answer is Jeffrey Epstein.
I got to say, this is just perfect. I can't believe that the entire news cycle has orchestrated itself around your specific interests, Jackson. I was just saying before we went on here, you're an expert of Boogie and Epstein. That's it. The oracle of both of them. You know more than the FBI does, clearly.
Is there any difference, really, when you think about it? Obviously, there's a pretty substantial difference between my lolcow fascination and the mass sex trafficker known as Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, I thought we were all going to say it was Boogie and then your lolcow was Epstein.
It's a very thin line between those two. No, very excited about this episode. Obviously, the entire news around the world at the moment, we're recording at the start of July, the 12th of July over here in Australia. The entire news cycle at the moment is around Jeffrey Epstein yet again, because it pops up every, year at certain points whenever new breakthroughs are made in the case. And it's just whipped up into a frenzy at the moment, which is obviously good considering we've spent the last week and a half diving deep into the entire case, going over the lawsuits, going over all of the released information and the Department of Justice reports and such. And so this is a comprehensive deep dive into the Epstein Files. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of details here, but it is also a case where there is literally decades worth of, reports and victimization at this point, as well as different stories that are pretty hard to factually conclude if they're, accurate or not. So even though this document itself that we're reading from, this red thread document, the investigation that we put together, is 25 pages long, you can't say it is exhaustive of every single facet, but we did obviously try to include everything that's important to the case and, going over everything that we can reasonably within a podcast time frame, let's say. I'm going to ask you, Jordan, potentially the stupidest question I've ever asked on the show. What do you know about Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, this is why I'm really glad that I'm doing the podcast, because it's absolutely nothing. The world seems to be obsessed with this case. And Jackson, let me throw a question back at you for a second. Why do you think that this case has taken the world by storm?
Oh, easy, because it speaks to the conspiratorial aspects of everyone's minds of whether or not there is a shadowy organization of wealthy elite pedophiles running the entire world. I mean, that's just instantly salacious, right?
And also ticks everyone's boxes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Current affair viewers,
Absolutely.
Alex Jones viewers, everyone's happy.
It's so, this is the great unifier, really, when you can take such a case. It honestly is. It speaks to like the basest of people's brains. Like if there is this level of victimization at the hands of the elite and powerful to the point where they're able to get away with something of this scale, then crime is literally legal for them. They're a different class of people if this is true. I mean, obviously they're a different class of people. They are in and of itself a different class of people. But I mean, like, they're operating on such an otherworldly level to us mere mortals that they can get away with whatever they want if they're able to bury this.
Right. Okay. So it's mostly just people figuring out lifestyles of the rich and the famous. It's a perverse version of this old show Cribs, almost. Just like, what's it like over there?
Everyone knows that there's a lifestyle difference, and wealthy people don't have to pay their speeding tickets, because obviously they've got favors with people and stuff like that. But even then, ignore that and then divert your attention to this, where it is literally powerful elite people literally sex trafficking underage girls for decades, and then having the goal to, when it is on the main stage and all the spotlights are shining at the case, pretend like there's nothing amiss and that they can just bury it directly in front of us in the world's weirdest magic trick.
So mostly the obsession comes around to the point of, can they get away with it? That's the real crux of the question.
I think it's not can they get away with it. We know they can get away with it. They have for decades now.
Wait, hang on, because I just don't know anything about this case. Do we know that they can get away with it? How far does the conspiracy theory curtail, right? Like, is it just a fact that this was happening and that all these celebrities were involved, or is it kind of just suspected at this point?
Heavily suspected. Obviously, there's no confirmed, like, it's hard to say that there's no confirmed evidence, because the only people that would be able to confirm the evidence are the organizations and institutions that themselves are, rumored to be guilty of this.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's very hard to actually take anything that they say at their word when we are questioning their integrity in the first place.
Yes. Wow. So yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, man, this far out. I am very, very grateful that you have summarized all of. You're essentially giving me a tutorial.
I'm surprised that you're not interested previously not interested in diving deep into this on your own, considering it aligns pretty closely with like how you have previously fought against governments, let's say, and things like that, and powerful people. Like, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I think that mostly I've just got this natural aversion to so pathetic and parochial. But anytime I ever hear anything from America, I think, what's wrong with Australia? Eh? Why isn't anyone talking about Australia?
Yeah, that's very insular focused on Australia. I get that, but like,
that's it.
We're talking about something that isn't even American. Let's say
truly
we're talking about a global crime network here, basically of the rich and powerful.
I'm very interested to see how much we've got on this. Because again, but mostly my understanding of it is just little clippets from the news here and there. That's all I've got. So I'd like to see what there is.
I will preference this to set expectations. On Red Thread, we are more so collectors of information, not ourselves, investigative journalists or anything like that. Like, I'm not out there in a trench coat in some parking garage meeting, undercover informants or anything like that at night. This is more so just comprehensive research about things that have already existed through reports, documents, and stuff like that. And also, you got to factor in that, again, a lot of these documents and reports are released by the very people we are questioning. Therefore, biases exist and it's impossible to verify information, but we've done our best to do so diligently. Before we continue on with this episode, though, a real quick word from this episode's sponsor, Factor. It's yummy time. It's summertime. Your tummy is hungry and it deserves some food, but you don't want to waste time spending hours inside cooking. Luckily for mankind, that's where Factor comes in, with their chef-designed and dietitian-approved meals that you can get ready in just under 2 minutes. That's right, not 2 hours, not 2 days, not even 2 weeks, just 2 minutes. That's efficiency. That's power. Mankind was never meant to have so much power when it comes to getting extremely quick and healthy food into your belly. But now with Factor, you can. They arrive fresh and ready to eat, and with 45 weekly menu options, with options from Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more, you'll be spoiled for choices. Not just that, They also offer nutritious breakfast options, on-the-go lunch options, and guilt-free snacks and desserts, meaning that Factor has your entire day covered if you want it to. One aspect I love, beyond just removing the hassle of cleaning up after a session in the kitchen, which I hate nothing more than getting into that dirty sink and scrubbing dishes and pans and pots and stuff, so already Factor wins in my book just because it removes that. But one other aspect I love about Factor is that the meals are portioned perfectly nutritionally, meaning food waste is down, and I don't have to guesstimate when I go to the grocery store. In fact, I can go to the grocery store less often now. Take that, big market chains of, multinational grocery stores that don't have my best interest at heart. Now it's my turn for revenge. In fact, I can go to this grocery store as little as I want now, and that means I'm not wasting money on things that I don't really need, like an enormous tub of Pringles, for example. I've used Factor myself, and the quality of the food is fantastic, delicious, and everything is as easy as I've just made it sound. If that all sounds interesting to you and you're looking for a meal delivery box to remove the cooking stress from your life, get started at factormeals.com/redthread50off and use code redthread50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code redthread50off at factormeals.com/redthread50off for 50% off plus free shipping. That's factormeals.com/redthread50off. It'll be linked in the description below. Highly recommend you go check it out. Really does help out the show a lot when you check out the sponsors for the show, and we trust them and we love them. So please, highly recommend you go check them out. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring this episode and helping out the show, and thank you to you audience members for listening to this spot. We really do appreciate it, and big thank you if you go check them out. Now, back to the episode. So, we got to ask the initial question before we really dive deep if we want to make a comprehensive video about the Epstein Files. We'll try to keep this short, but who is Jeffrey Epstein? Well, Jeffrey Epstein, born on January 20th, 1953, is a formerly alive and now infamously disgraced American financier. That's always so nice, describing dead people as formerly alive. I like that. That's classy.
It's classy. I've never heard of it ever. I thought it was a typo. It seems like you got this translated by somebody that does like signs in English in like mainland China.
Like some bad mistranslation.
It's Chinglish essentially. Like is that a way? It is classy. It's definitely polite.
Yeah, it's polite. What do you want me to say? He's dead. It used to be. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay, dead. Sure.
But I mean, I know. Please continue the trend. All I'm saying is, if it isn't, it's the nice way of doing it from now on.
At the time of his death in July 2019, his net worth was reported to be over $500 million. He had accrued a close circle of friends filled with high-powered and famous individuals. The list is long and includes the likes of Prince Andrew, former President Bill Clinton, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Naomi Campbell, Woody Allen, and more. The list is comprehensive.
Yeah, of course, Woody's extensive. There. All right, I'm already convinced. We're 2 sentences in.
So it's not his career or wealth that makes Jeffrey Epstein a famous name, however, but it is his heinous, right?
Yeah.
Heinous crimes and the implications born from there. You see, Epstein was a convicted child sex offender found guilty in 2005 for procuring a child for prostitution and soliciting a prostitute. He was again arrested in 2019 for sex trafficking minors, but ultimately his life was ended before going to trial. Whether or not this was done by outside forces or his own hands is debatable. No evidence has been provided to conclude one way or the other as of yet.
2005?
Yeah, did you not know that?
Honestly, again, I know the word Jeffrey and also I'll add Epstein to my knowledge. I'll be fair to myself. That's it. That's all I've got. So anything is new to me.
Yeah, so there was a 2005 case that he entered into a plea deal with the US government over for the very same crimes that he would later be found guilty of in 2019, basically. So yeah, he had a history before even the big expose in 2017, sorry.
The evidence is weighing up fast, isn't it? This is the first paragraph.
He was obviously guilty. There's no denying that. We know that for sure. Whether or not this was done by outside forces or his own hands is debatable, and no evidence has been provided to conclude one way or the other as of yet. We'll now briefly detail Jeffrey Epstein's life as it is undeniably important to the episode. But if you'd like more information about Jeffrey Epstein, we did do an episode on Jeffrey Epstein as a person earlier on in the show's life. You can find a link in the show description and yeah, you can go watch that if you want extensive details about Jeffrey Epstein as a person.
Is that episode entitled Jeffrey Epstein, the man behind the myth?
It might be. I don't remember what we titled it, but that is a cool name. It's too cool for a, convicted pedophile, but yeah, could do that. After graduating high school in 1969, Epstein, reportedly a gifted mathematician, attended 2 colleges but did not obtain a degree. Despite this, though, he was hired in 1974 at the age of 21 as a mathematics and physics teacher at Dalton School in Manhattan. His interest in underage female students was reportedly noticed by many he taught, and after 2 years, he was fired for poor performance. During this time, though, he met Alan Greenberg, the CEO of investment bank Bear Stearns, which is that was a big, financial institution back in the 70s and 80s. And they hired him as a junior assistant, but within a short amount of time, he became a limited partner. That same year, Epstein left Bear Stearns and founded his own business, Intercontinental Assets Group, with the focus of the company being on helping clients recover stolen funds through legal measures. He also founded his own financial management firm in the 1980s called J. Epstein and Company to manage clients who had a wealth of over $1 billion.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's kind of crazy the ascent of Epstein during those years where he became very wealthy very quickly, and it's not really necessarily known how that happened, which has obviously made it a hotbed for conspiracy theories surrounding the idea of foreign governments kind of inserting him as an intelligence asset. We'll go into that in a future episode of Red Thread. This episode is specifically going to be focused on more U.S. domestic aspect of this case, which is, Donald Trump implicated in the Epstein Files, and is the U.S. government hiding material or otherwise burying the case? But yeah, there are definitely a lot of conspiracy theories about perhaps foreign government interference as well, and we could definitely do an additional episode covering that stuff as well.
I can't believe it.
Yeah,
it's massive episodes on this one guy. Oh my God, that's so mysterious, isn't it? Look, we couldn't do that for JFK.
No.
I mean, I guess you could chuck in the mafia as an entire episode, but I'll tell you this, I would not be interested in that. It's just obviously not a good theory. But it seems like that there's just so many different avenues you can go with this guy.
Well, as further kind of evidence, I guess, or indications that Epstein was possibly an intelligence agent or asset for, either the US or the other supposed government that people claim that he was obviously an intelligence asset for, could be the Israeli government, given that Jeffrey Epstein was Jewish as well. Some evidence to suggest that is he had a fake Austrian passport from 1987, which listed his country of residence as Saudi Arabia. That was found during the raid of his home in 2018, proving he traveled to countries under false identities, which is obviously a very
spy thing to do.
Yeah, intelligence asset-y kind of thing to do. Especially when you're
not
rich
really
and powerful anyway.
An intelligence asset thing to do, and not an asset manager thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like, why would you need a fake passport and identity as a extremely wealthy and rich individual? Like Donald Trump, for example, can go wherever he wants without issue. Like, why would Epstein need this other than to hide, his travel, I guess?
Look, I'm hooked already, I gotta say.
This was explained by his lawyers as personal protection, as he was Jewish and traveling through the Middle East. A journalist named Vicky Ward was informed that one of Epstein's clients was also Adnan Khashoggi, who was part of the Iran Contra scandal, which was a political scandal during the Reagan administration in the 80s that saw senior officials secretly facilitate arms sales to Iran despite an existing US arms embargo. And then money generated by this was then illegally diverted to support Contra rebels in Nicaragua, who were fighting against the socialist Sandinista government. So yeah, this is all to say that Epstein was obviously very well connected to the elite and politically powerful from quite early in his life, and it is extremely mysterious and confounding how a random man with very, let's say, humble origins was able to navigate his way into that life filled with the rich and powerful. It is honestly very strange. Like a lot of those people you usually see rise to that level, obviously because they belong to powerful families already. Whereas this guy kind of just...
Yeah, or offering something.
Yeah, popped up. Very strange. But as far as we know publicly, his only billionaire client was Leslie Wexner, who was the CEO and chairman of L Brands and Victoria's Secret. He is currently worth $7.9 billion USD as of 2025. Epstein went on to become Wexner's power of attorney over his affairs, meaning he had full access and control over his finances. He enjoyed being close to the Victoria's Secret models, often hosting them at his home. As Epstein's wealth grew, he moved his firm to the US Virgin Islands, reducing his income tax by 90%.
Damn.
I fucking hate you.
I mean, he's good at his job.
Hey, he's good. How hard is it to move to the US Virgin Islands? Can I do that? Is it easy? Or do you have to be a convicted sex offender? Like,
it seems that it'd help. Hey, it really feels like if you want to go somewhere, that's the place to do it. I think that Jackson, I don't think that you're in the same class as these guys.
Tax bracket. Yeah,
I don't think it's worth it at this point.
Hey, it might be.
No offense.
Tax. It would be nice to reduce tax a little bit over here for me, but
yeah, but it just seems like I don't know. Like, is the US Virgin Islands particularly cheap or something like that? Usually, if you want to do something for our tax bracket, move to Bali instead. US Virgin Islands seems like a place for the rich and powerful.
Yeah, that's a very exclusive club.
I think, anyway. Maybe it is a shithole as well. I don't know.
Well, no, he owned an island there. He owned a full island in the US Virgin Islands, so probably only very wealthy people there.
Jackson, here's my one piece of knowledge about Epstein. Apparently, other extremely wealthy people, this was, I can't remember whose theory, but they were always saying that it was a flex that he owned that island to other billionaires because other billionaires had looked into obviously buying their own island and the upkeep of it is just through the roof.
Well, yeah, I can imagine the maintenance on a fucking full island is pretty extensive.
I mean, think about it, right? Like, every time you want a bag of chips, what do? You have to get the guy in the helicopter to go off. Your own purse. You basically have to come up with your own private Uber Eats.
These people operate on such a different scale that, like, literally flying a private jet like 30 minutes down the road is more preferable to them than, like, driving there. It's so crazy what a different level these people live.
Yeah, totally. But that's what I'm saying is the fact that he was on that island
was a flex.
And he thinks, this was this guy's theory, I can't even remember who was talking about it, but he thinks that Epstein might have had that island, and why he thought it was an intelligence operative was because it intimidated wealthy people, and it's hard to intimidate wealthy people.
Well, I think just at a base level, of course, owning something like that is an image thing, and this image means everything to these people. And if he is an intelligence asset, image means even more, considering you're trying to ingratiate yourself into that lifestyle and those kinds of people. If you're trying to collect information on powerful people and blackmail them, you have to present yourself as a powerful person, and nothing screams power than owning an entire island.
Yeah. And also, okay, I think I'm going to say it was Brett Weinstein that was talking about this, but I can't remember. But he was saying that the time that he met him, he walks in and he's got some baroness on his lap and he's in a dressing gown. He walks in on the island and then he says, "Oh, Brett, I was just talking about the finance market." And he was just like, well, this is obviously some setup. Like, no one says, "Oh, I was just discussing finances." If you're a rich person and you do that, you don't say things like it. It was like a Jamie Kennedy experiment episode or something. He said it felt off the whole time that he was there. Like it was like a cartoon character.
Okay. A cartoon character of a rich person.
Yeah. Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Sorry.
No,
that's all I've got.
All right, back in your corner now, Jordan. Wait for your turn. I'll call on you when the time is right. Epstein was a collector of people and an extremely active socialite. It almost felt like he knew everyone who was anyone. Rumors of his so-called Little Black Book contained over 1,000 names of individuals and entities within Epstein's social network, with some having little involvement with him, while others were truly entrenched within his web. In the 1990s, Epstein met a woman named Ghislaine Maxwell, who went on to be his long-term companion, but she very quickly became more akin to an accomplice as her role shifted into being a recruiter of young girls for Epstein. Behind the business mogul was a depraved, sick, and twisted individual whose crimes would be first brought into the spotlight in July of 2005. A woman who refused to identify herself called the police at Palm Beach in March 2005. She believed that her 14-year-old daughter had been molested by a very wealthy man. When the police spoke to the teenager, they quickly learned of the horrific ordeal that she had suffered. The girl was brought to a house at the Atlantic Intracoastal Waterway. A woman who was 25 years old and described as unkind guided her into a room with a massage table, sheets, and lotion. Then Epstein walked in not long after, completely naked except for a towel, where he proceeded to sexually assault her. He sent her away after giving her $300 for the service. The girl pointed out Epstein in a lineup of photos, and the criminal investigation into him began. Through their investigation, the police alleged that Epstein had been paying multiple girls to perform sexual activities with him, with many of the women being underage, with some as young as 14. He was charged on July 27, 2006 on state felony charges of procuring a minor for prostitution and solicitation of a prostitute. Palm Beach police wanted him charged with 4 counts of unlawful sex with minors and 1 count of sexual abuse. The FBI at this time also launched their own investigation into Epstein, named Operation Leap Year. I don't know why it was called Operation Leap Year. One of my favorite things is trying to determine why the FBI or these organizations name their
give them the operation names.
Certain names. Yeah. There has to be like a boardroom meeting where they're like coming up with what to name it. And I'm always curious about those conversations. The only reason I could think of why they would name it Operation Leap Year is if it was like a subtle joke about maybe Epstein believed that they were over the age of consent during a leap year or something. Like he skipped his years or something like that. That's the only reason I could think of it being called Operation Leap Year.
Do they ever have any reason to call them these things?
Do you think it's just randomly generated?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Kind of a, manatee joke scenario for serious crime names.
Maybe. If you're a CIA operative out there tasked with coming up with names for operations, do let us know. Let us know why you choose the names that you choose. But during this operation, they uncovered even more sexual exploitation conducted by Epstein and Maxwell. The investigation found evidence that some girls as young as 13 were used by Epstein and Maxwell, where they would hold sex parties on his private island and private plane, which they had nicknamed, they being Epstein, nicknamed the Lolita Express. Yeah, look, if you're calling anything the Lolita Express, you're probably a bad guy. You're a bad dude.
By nickname, they didn't put it on the side of the plane, did they?
I don't think so. Let me have a look. It's a good question.
It's not the legal name of it, surely.
No.
That would raise a little too much suspicion. But you got to say, this guy is pretty damn confident in his pedo. His pedo strides.
Well, again, what does that speak to? Well, this level of comfort and obviously, just easy attitude towards this from him, where he is actually recruiting other people to do the dirty work for him. What does that speak of? That speaks of someone who's so comfortable because they know that they will be safe. And why would that be? Because there's potentially other powerful people who are also complicit in it as well, right? That's what that would suggest.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. If he's nicknaming the Lolita Express, yeah, probably.
Well, people knew that. Okay, yeah, go on.
Ensuing from this investigation what was dubbed the Sweetheart Deal. This was a plea deal that granted all immunity from federal criminal charges and co-conspirators, which essentially shut down an ongoing FBI probe into whether there were more victims and other powerful people who took part in Epstein's sex crimes. So this plea deal was basically an arrangement met by the U.S. government, the State Department or whatever it was, and Jeffrey Epstein, where they would cease their investigation. They wouldn't levy any charges against co-conspirators. That's what they say in the plea deal, co-conspirators. They won't charge anyone. They won't continue their investigation and so on, as long as obviously Epstein pleads guilty and helps them just tie it all up nicely, which was obviously to his benefit as well. So the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida at the time, the man responsible for this sweetheart deal, Alexander Acosta, later revealed about this deal, quote, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone."
Oh my God. Really?
And then clarified later that he did the best that he could, but saw it was not a fair punishment. And interestingly enough, Alexander Acosta, it's not written in this document, but I'm pretty sure he was a part of the Trump administration in the first administration, correct? Yes, he was the 27th United States Secretary of Labor from 2017 to 2019 under President Donald Trump. So he's connected to Donald Trump as well, this person who essentially gave Epstein a plea deal in which he wouldn't need to name any co-conspirators, which is a very interesting thing for a criminal investigation to do when it's tasked with potentially bring down a network of wealthy, powerful pedophiles, given that they're told, leave it alone. Very interesting, right?
So interesting. I can't believe this. Wow. This is just public record stuff, yeah.
Yeah, this is a quote from... It's not some fucking random stranger on the street. This is literally a quote from the person who issued the plea deal and was as credible as being a secretary under an administration of the US government. This is not some no-name individual making this claim. Very, very strange. Epstein was sentenced to 18 months in prison, but instead of a typical instead of a typical jail, he was given a private wing of Palm Beach County Stockade, where he served just over 3 months and was then allowed flexible time out of jail for work in quotation marks. He served 13 months in total before being released to a probation house, again with flexible rules that allowed him to regularly visit the US Virgin Islands, which is obviously what most prisoners do and are allowed the comfort of doing when they leave their jail. They're put on a private plane over to the US Virgin Islands where they get to sip Mai Tais at their private island. I get the argument for criminals, white collar criminals who do like tax evasion and shit like that, for being put in more comfortable prison environments. But he was literally put in a comfortable prison just because he was a wealthy individual. And like his crimes were as violent and as, they cause as much pain as possible to victims. There are actual genuine victims from his crimes where he should be classified as a violent offender and put in general population of a max security prison, not some fucking holiday home. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm trying to find now. Does anybody know what it's like in one of those? Is it one of those rich guy prisons?
Well, he was given an entire private wing of Palm Beach County Stockade, which in of itself doesn't sound like a max security prison. And then you factor in the fact that
it does, doesn't it? It sounds like a mall or something. Yeah, no. Yeah, the amount of time is tiny. That's definitely true. I'm just trying to figure out if he got extra special treatment.
I mean, there's probably like a private tennis court, spa and jacuzzi, masseuses probably every 3 days. Brand new PlayStation 5 in his jail cell. Like he's got his buffet at 8 a.m. It's probably one of those situations. Everything possible for the special little guy.
Incredible.
In 2019, Epstein was arrested in New Jersey on federal charges of sex trafficking crimes, which involved many underage girls. So again, this is 2019. This is after, well after the 2008 case. So yeah, shockingly, the guy that got 3 months got straight back into his ways of victimizing young women. Another failure of the U.S. Justice system. So yeah, this involved many underage girls, with the extent of Epstein's horrific network of sexual abuse and sex trafficking now becoming very public, given several lawsuits filed by victims, and after an expose in the Miami Herald in 2018, he pleaded not guilty, but was considered a flight risk and therefore denied bail. He was found dead in his prison cell a few months later, having seemingly hung himself. Investigations into his associates and the web of abuse have not ceased post his death, and they've been a hotbed for enormous, all-encompassing conspiracy theories which have long taken root. Conspiracies like, was Donald Trump potentially involved in the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein as a co-conspirator, and is he potentially named in the so-called Epstein Files? And is that why there is a concerted effort to bury this case? So the Epstein Files is the term used to coin a collection of documents that relate to Jeffrey Epstein's elaborate web of sex trafficking crimes and his connection to other wealthy and powerful individuals complicit in the crimes also. What we definitely know was in these files are flight logs, an evidence list, a fully redacted masseuse list, which is redacted due to the protected identities of the victims, since a lot of the masseuses were underage women, and the infamous little black book that was essentially a contact list but was mostly also redacted. This contact list is infamous for containing evidence of Epstein's connections. The redacted parts are generally addresses, email contacts, and phone numbers. However, you can still determine the names of those included in the little black book. This doesn't indicate guilt, but it does indicate association between Epstein and the people in the black book. I mean, obviously, we know he was connected to a lot of people. That's undeniable. He was a wealthy, very rich, powerful person. Of course, he was close or associated with a lot of other wealthy, very rich, powerful people. So this isn't necessarily indicative of guilt. This black book and the other documents, already well documented previously on the internet, formed part of the Epstein Files Phase 1 release that occurred in February of this year, 2025, which was conducted by United States Attorney General Pam Bondi and the FBI at the behest of the administration. This disclosure was held and esteemed conservative commentators and influencers were invited to take part. It was like a publicity stunt. You remember it, right?
Yeah.
At the start of the year.
Yeah.
They all walked out with their giant binders containing the supposed new evidence. But this was little more than a publicity stunt, as the evidence contained within didn't shed any new light on the matter and was more or less the administration simply confirming what was already long circulating in the media. This event coincided with a press release by the administration titled, Attorney General Pamela Bondi releases first phase of declassified Epstein files. The press release said, quote, this Department of Justice is following through on President Trump's commitment to transparency and lifting the veil on the disgusting actions of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators. That's a very important element of this direct quote. The actions of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators, multiple, plural, not just one co-conspirator, co-conspirators. The first phase of files released today sheds light on Epstein's extensive network and begins to provide the public with long overdue accountability. So I want you to remember that, okay? So Pamela Bondi, in this very initial, she's the Attorney General of the United States. She's gone over the files herself, apparently so, and she herself has now made a statement that indicates that there is a network and co-conspirators. I need you to remember that for the future. And then we have another quote here from Kash Patel, who is the director of the FBI. And he says, quote, the FBI is entering a new era, one that will be defined by integrity, accountability, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. There will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, and no stone left unturned. And anyone from the prior or current bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. If there are gaps, we will find them. If records have been hidden, we will uncover them, and we will bring everything we find to the DOJ, that's the Department of Justice, to be fully assessed and transparently disseminated to the American people as it should be. The oath we take is to the Constitution, and under my leadership, that promise will be upheld without compromise. So this was a big kind of deal for the administration. Basically, they had campaigned on this. They had given interviews talking about how they would declassify and disseminate very highly sought after files from the government that confirmed or denied various different conspiracy theories, not just about Jeffrey Epstein, but also JFK, Martin Luther King, aliens, for example. They certainly ran on a broad campaign about busting open the curtain of the deep state, basically, and showing what was behind, letting you have a peek behind the curtain to see what was really happening all those many years. So that was a very big promise made by the government,
Right.
by the campaign.
Okay.
Donald Trump's name does feature in the Epstein Files, but not in a criminal context. His name is in the Lolita Express flight logs 7 times, suggesting that he flew on Epstein's private jet in the 1990s. Again, 7 times. Occasionally accompanied by his wife at the time, Marla Maples, his daughter, Tiffany, and a nanny. All of these little notes or these little documentations in the flight logs also had J.E., Jeffrey Epstein, as being on the flights, and one featured GM as well, which most likely stood for Ghislaine Maxwell, which is obviously Jeffrey Epstein's main co-conspirator. Regardless, it's simply undeniable that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were connected, and that Donald Trump doesn't exist in the Epstein Files because, I mean, he simply does. The evidence already suggests that he does, or indicate that he does. So I guess the question of is Donald Trump in the Epstein Files is already answered in this episode. He is in the Epstein Files. However, as we said, a lot of people exist in the files, and that doesn't immediately indicate guilt or criminal culpability. When people talk about the Epstein Files, they're most likely not referring to these already existing documents and evidence, but instead the broader collection of information being withheld by the government. It's heavily believed that Epstein had hundreds of hours worth of footage collected, with police investigations into his residences finding hidden cameras and digital archives of child abuse material or just abuse material in general. It's also believed that by many that Epstein was collecting and preserving information on his powerful friends and was essentially trafficking underage women to these individuals in order to blackmail them and take power over them with his hidden cameras. So there's definitely a basis, right, for him having more substantial evidence, Jeffrey Epstein having more substantial evidence, and as such, the government having more substantial evidence at some point in time of his network, just due to this kind of scale and scope of everything. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. What I don't understand is what are the motives behind the theory that Epstein is deliberately trying to get powerful people to have sex with underage girls to film them?
So that he can have power over them.
But him specifically? Or is this all just go back to Mossad links?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is that he was operating under some kind of government or intelligence asset operative, but also just remove that. It's not like powerful people have never blackmailed other powerful people in order to facilitate wealth exchanges or other lucrative opportunities for themselves.
Well, it is incredible, isn't it? Because I just couldn't imagine the thought process behind it. I don't think that I could come up with such a scheme.
We exist on a far different level than the powerful and elite.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a very scary world if that's what you need to do to maintain that position.
I mean, governments, again, I find the whole government asset idea much more interesting because obviously the government, foreign governments especially, have a very intrinsic incentive to blackmail America's wealthy and powerful and elite, especially politicians, right? They definitely have an incentive to own those kinds of people, correct?
Yes.
So that angle absolutely makes sense.
That angle does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so why Trump then?
Why own Trump?
Why own Trump?
Okay, so let's say hypothetically that, like you indicated, Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, owns Jeffrey Epstein. He's an agent of them. And then Jeffrey Epstein collects evidence that Donald Trump has had sex with an underage woman on camera with his hidden security cameras. He's got that footage. Now Mossad has that intelligence. And now the Israeli government can exert enormous amounts of pressure on a prominent politician, in fact, the most prominent politician in the United States, to back them more heavily out of fear that they will release the blackmail imagery of him having sex with an underage woman.
No. Yeah, I fully understand that, but this was not when Donald Trump was. This is when Trump was sort of just a clownish tabloid celebrity figure.
Foresight, maybe. Maybe they knew deep down this man is going to the top.
I mean, it could be a combination of things in the sense that
it literally could just be this the scale of collecting as much. I mean, he was already a very wealthy and powerful person. Even though he was $900 million in debt, he was still a very wealthy and powerful person in New York, which was obviously basically the capital of America at the time. That was the city, right? That's where everyone powerful existed. So like collecting evidence on everyone there and owning them just in case, definitely advantageous for foreign governments.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's definitely not unbelievable, and it's pretty. It would explain a lot of future questions that are raised nowadays, like why is Trump so beholden to the Israeli government, for example?
Yeah, I mean, look, there could be many, many, many reasons for that. My other thing is just like, I'm trying to think of what other things it could be other than that. I mean, I'll tell you this. I do know that Trump's lawyer used to do that a lot.
Cohen?
Yeah, Cohen used to host sex parties at his house, and he would record them, and then he would then blackmail city officials to get things that he wanted.
There we go. That's the same concept on a much more diminutive kind of scale, really, if he's just blackmailing city officials.
Damn, it's just how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Oh my God. Business
negotiations 101. Get your business adversary into the bedroom. For those listening out there, just wonder how I got Jordan Shanks on this podcast. What kind of incriminating evidence must I have?
Who would do such a thing? Sorry. Yeah. I'll let you continue on. It's quite an interesting angle, though.
Obviously, I want to discuss all of this stuff, so it's not just reading, and it's far more interesting to have a discussion about it. So ask any questions that you want, and I'll do my best to fill you in.
Okay.
So this is a quote from Alina Habba, who is a U.S. attorney for New Jersey and is also currently the counselor to the President Trump, on a Piers Morgan interview. Quote, "But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information names that will come out. I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable." And then we have another quote from Senator Marsha Blackburn here, who is a Republican. Quote, "What we know is that this was a large network of high-profile, high-dollar predators who abused untold numbers of minors. Only one person has been prosecuted for these crimes, and that is Ghislaine Maxwell." So these are just examples of quotes. These types of quotes were prevalent and common from US government officials in the lead up to this kind of administration disclosure that happened earlier this year. So it's a common belief across both the people shouting at us from media outlets, from the government officials campaigning, from everyone you speak to, that there is something deeper here. It's a common belief that there is evidence available that is currently redacted and held privately by officials or organizations or someone. And these are held privately so as to protect the individuals that are incriminated in the evidence. So, again, you hear about it constantly, right? Even from the people in the administration, that there is something deeper here.
What is the mainstream media's like? What's their point on that? I think it's like this is QAnon stuff, right? And that they're saying that, well, it's the same thing with like Donald Trump constantly stoking the Q crowd by doing little, signals and stuff to them in the crowd. You know about the conspiracy theory of QAnon, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I do know that this is just a factual thing, that the Republican base does include a lot of nutters that do believe all kinds of conspiracies, and they are always trying to stoke them to try and get like a rowdy base to go there. It's not, I would imagine that the Democrats would have something similar as well, because I think that is just the byproduct of an electoral system where you don't have to vote. So what you're doing is trying to get people that are predictable that will go to the polls, and that's usually
it's
nutters.
marketing. It's marketing 101, making these enormous salacious claims and appealing to a base of people that you can motivate. I mean, that's all it is. They don't even have to believe in the things they're saying, and often they don't.
Yes. So what I'm saying is it would make sense for the Republicans to stoke conspiracy theories about Jeffrey Epstein and say these kind of teasy comments. What do you think about that? What do you reckon?
100% they read the room and realized that this was potential. If they could say that they would release these files that, would answer everyone's questions, obviously that's a massive, massive deal to people. That motivates their base, these bases, to vote for them. So they have a incentive there. But they back themselves into a corner where they actually had to do the thing that they
have to do the thing that they have to do. My question is, when it comes to those files, this is very similar to when they released the JFK files and everybody thought, oh, this is going to blow the lid off things. But then you listen to like historiographers and a bunch of other, like file expert guys, and they were saying it might, but it could just be tens of thousands of pages of nothing. That's also something that's possible as well.
I don't believe in this situation that a man like Jeffrey Epstein, who had every single property of his and every single house of his wired up with hidden security cameras constantly everywhere, would not have archives and archives of video evidence that implicated other people. And I do not for a second believe that he acted alone and recorded all of this footage and victimized thousands of girls on his own. Just the scale of that speaks of a network.
It's a big call, hey? It's a very big call.
That's not something that one person achieves or does. That's network behavior. So I don't believe for a second that there is not evidence, or there was not evidence at some point. We can talk a lot later about if that evidence has been removed, deleted, etc. But I do not believe that there was no evidence at any one point in time. Like it just the actions that the investigation itself still concludes. The actions and the supposed scale of culpability here from Jeffrey Epstein speaks more to a situation of multiple co-conspirators, in my opinion.
But the rational people, I guess, would assume, right, that just because there are rich and powerful celebrities on Epstein's flight logs, not all of them are pedophiles on those flight logs, right? That they would be going there because he was sort of this epicenter of a hotbed of billionaires and the rich and the famous.
Yeah, of course. I'm not saying everyone in the little black book is a pedophile. I think we went to strains there to point out that these are just everyone that he knew, basically. It's just like a Rolodex of contact information of people that he knew. And he was a rich and powerful person, so he knew a lot of people, obviously. But I mean, just again, just the scale of his crimes, really, and how he went about acting them out, and how he already had a level of comfort where he recruited other people to do his bidding, speaks to a network. And I simply do not think that there would be no evidence that existed at some point showing anyone else acting in those kinds of crimes as well. And the fact that no evidence has come out showing that indicates to me some level of cover-up, which then obviously leads to the question of why is there a cover-up? Well, obviously the answer is because it's protecting powerful people.
Yes.
Who are in control of the cover-up. And who is that at the moment? I mean, it's the government. So
I know that we're probably going to get to this, but give me some little tease here. Do you think Trump's in on it?
Man, tease?
Yeah, tease.
Do I tease? Well, let me just say, this is going to be a big, beautiful document. You're going to want to read all of it. It's going to get spicy.
Do we have an ad to put in there?
No.
Ah, okay.
Unfortunately.
All right, well, let's just read on. Okay, all right. Damn.
establishing the relationship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So in recent years, the two men have made conflicting statements about their previous friendship. Trump has distanced himself, obviously, while Epstein made a comment in 2017 to a biographer that he was Trump's closest friend for 10 years.
Damn.
There is no argument that they ran in the same social circles throughout the 1980s and 90s, as they were both rich and powerful men who were neighbors in Palm Beach and were frequently photographed together at social events. In 2002, long before Epstein's crimes were revealed, Trump made the following statement about Epstein in a New York Magazine article. Quote, "Oh, well, this is Trump. You got to do it.
I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. Trump booms from the speaker. Oh, Trump booms from the speakerphone. Sorry, it's just an italics.
No, he annotates himself as well.
He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and some of them are on the younger side, no doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life."
Yeah. See, well, I mean, to say the quiet part out loud.
It's a very Trump thing to do, isn't it?
I mean, it is, but like, what a weird quote. What a weird quote to say. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. Why? What?
Just says anything that comes into his head.
I mean, but he wasn't even senile at this point. This was 2002. This was 23 years ago when he would have been like 50.
He's always had it. He's always had that Trump magic. That's why it's funny. I mean, look, the other day I saw him announcing like a rudimentary pharmaceutical benefit scheme for the United States. Any other politician on earth, if they were announcing that, would get a kid with leukemia up there and say, "Little Jeffrey here can now afford the medicines that he needs to get better. Isn't that right, Jeffrey? Yay." That would be the usual interaction that you would have.
Yeah.
His response was to say, "There's a very rich man that I know. Many of you would know him. Terrific guy. He's also very fat. And he rang me up the other day and said, 'I'm taking the fat pill.' And I said to him, 'It's not working. You're still a very fat man.'" And this is how he announces America has a pharmaceutical benefit scheme, just paying out his fat friend.
It's undeniable. You can't get better than that.
You can't get better than that, because I think that's just how his brain works. There is, someone says something and then he just responds, and there's no filtration in it. It's like exact opposite of, how every time you ever heard Obama speak, it was like, "I am calculating every single word that I am saying."
Very, very specific, very pointed.
Very pointed. He is bizarro world opposite land Obama. At least in that one respect.
Whatever comes through his brain.
So he just says that.
I wonder if he was thinking, though, the entire time he was like giving that quote, like, "Don't talk about the young women. Don't talk about the young women."
No, I don't.
I said the young women.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that thing exists in his head. Like, you're thinking of it like a normal human being, but I honestly think it's like simultaneously a superpower and a disability that Trump has.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah, totally.
So there's also video evidence that shows Epstein attending a party at Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago in 1992, where they can be seen laughing, joking, and pointing out women in the crowd. An apparent calendar girl competition was also hosted at Trump's private club the same year, where they were allegedly the only two men who attended. Wow. This claim was made by George Horonay, a Florida-based businessman who had apparently organized the event and had arranged for 28 girls to fly in at Trump's request. With an interview with the New York Times, he said, quote, "I said, Donald, this is supposed to be a party with VIPs. You're telling me it's just you and Epstein?" It's just, to be rich and powerful, where this is like, just like, "Servant, come here. Bring me 28 of the finest young women." It's so fucking cartoonish.
It is. It's really Saudi.
Yeah. In the book The Grifters Club, written by a team of journalists, it reveals that apparently Epstein was eventually banned from Trump's Palm Beach club, and his account was closed after he was caught harassing the daughter of another member. Trump was seemingly worried about his brand and reputation and felt that he had no choice but to remove Epstein. Trump's words about Epstein have changed over the years. In 2019, when he was asked his opinion on his old friend, he responded,
"Well, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I was not a fan of his."
You do it so perfectly. How do you get the cadence so right?
You got to remember this while you're talking. There is 3 Trumps, I think. There is conversational Trump, there's rally Trump, and then there's philosophical Trump. I think that's what you got to remember. That's the one where he does the breathe-ins and goes like,
"He's a good guy. Not the greatest guy, but quite a good guy." Like,
it's like he's like recalling hard.
So fucking jealous of people's ability to do impressions. I would be so powerful if I could do impressions. Can I hire you as like a vocal coach or something?
I guess. I'm just not really. I'm not an expert in this stuff because I never really had I don't know how to. There's exercises and things that you could do, whereas I would just go and be like, "Do it. That sucks, Jackson. Just do it the right way." You know, like,
you wouldn't know how to teach it. Teaching's a skill.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it, you're just born with it. I fucking hate you. One source who knew both Epstein and Trump at the time told the Washington Post that the two were tight and acted as each other's wingmen. In November 2004, however, their friendship hit a snag when they found themselves bidding against one another for Maison de la Amitié, a $40 million Palm Beach mansion up for auction. Trump won the bidding war with a $41 million offer. That month marked the last recorded interaction between Epstein and Trump. Sad. Champagne tears.
So it was all around this point. So, wow. That's quite close to 2005, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's 2000. What do you mean? You counting?
Yes, technically
2004
it is.
is 2005.
All right, just so everybody knows, this is 2004. And so, all right, you can make fun of me all you like for that comment. However.
It's one number away. This is Red Thread. This isn't fucking Sesame Street, Jordan. Not learning to count to 5.
That's all I can add to this episode.
You can do funny voices. That's your responsibility.
It's just like, do you think that they knew that something was happening, that, you know, Epstein, I don't know, rumors were sufficing or something around that point? Or do you think it was just
there were no
Trump
rumors at the time.
Okay.
No rumors at the time.
All right.
I mean, probably rumors in the social network, like, but there would have been rumors for several years at this point. It wouldn't have just popped up in 2005. Like, there would have been rumors because he wasn't really private about his social life.
Have you heard Epstein speak?
Yeah.
Does he have, what's it called again? Like that? Does he have pedo voice?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know what you mean by pedo voice, but
you don't.
No.
Don't you think that this is a very classic way that pedos speak a lot of the time? They're like, "Hey, how you going? Yeah, nice."
Yeah, maybe when they're in the act
you like
of
ice cream? Yeah, me too. Yeah.
That's not how they talk to like regular people. That's if you are the grooming victim. That's how they usually talk to you.
Are you sure? I thought that they have that voice naturally.
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of pedophiles. There's a lot of pedophiles with various voices. I don't think you can nail it down to a single voice. I think you're thinking of like the more cartoonish, like stereotypical pedophile voice.
Well, what does Epstein sound like? Has he got like a nice commanding voice or no?
No, I wouldn't say it's nothing unique, really. Pull up a video. Just listen to him talk right now.
Why do I have to? Why couldn't you just sit there and describe it for 20 minutes?
Why couldn't I do an impression of it? Actually, this will be a good test if you can do an impression of him.
Well, it's much easier to impress someone when they're worth doing an impression of. Some people just have a remarkable voice, but if they don't...
He just sounds like a normal New York kind of dude.
Man, he's just Woody Allen.
Yeah, he just sounds like a normal dude.
He's like a Jewish nerd. He's got that like, I just don't think that you should maybe... He's got that voice.
sounded Italian then.
What?
You sounded Italian.
I did not sound Italian.
Yeah, you sound like Mario.
I sound okay. All right.
Mamma mia.
So we're, what the fuck? Is that your Mario?
That's my extent of my Mario.
Look, I'll say this: your Trump was better.
I'm not an impressionist.
I like how scarred you are by this as well.
Because
you
know
really
it's
feel like
bad.
you've been done hard by in life.
I have been done hard by. I want nothing more than to do cool things with my voice, considering I use my voice a lot for work. I've been cursed to work a job where I use my voice, and yet I do not have a cool voice, or am able to contort my voice in cool ways. Such a shame.
I think that it's cool that you have shit impressions at your disposal. I'm much more interested by that.
You being good at impressions doesn't mean you can't also do a shit impression.
Yeah, totally. I've been guilty of it many a time. I've lots of, much like Epstein, we have the videos. But I'm just saying, I think, honestly, somebody having a go at an impression, knowing they're not very good, sticking by it anyway. You know what you're like? You're kind of like Eric the Eel in the 2000 Olympics.
Yay.
Swimming and battling by yourself. You're more of a hero than Thorpe,
Thank you.
Exactly.
Where's my presidential medal of freedom?
That's what I think it should be. Yeah. Here lies Jackson having a go.
Couldn't do Mario, the most basic impression.
Do you have any impressions that you think you could do?
No. I'm moving on. In October last year, a former model, Stacey Williams, told The Guardian that she was groped by Trump in 1993 while in the presence of Epstein. Williams commented that the two were, quote, really, really good friends and spent a lot of time together, end quote. Trump's representatives responded, calling the story fake and contrived by the Harris campaign, that's Kamala Harris, to distract from allegations against Harris's husband, who was accused of hitting an ex-girlfriend. Trump and Epstein were also both featured in a legal document filed in April 2016 by Jane Doe that accused them of complaint for rape, sexual misconduct, criminal sexual acts, sexual abuse, forcible touching, assault, battery, intentional and reckless infliction of emotional distress, duress, false imprisonment, and defamation. The document is alarming and overviews the horrible assault that Jane Doe endured at the age of 13. The case, however, was dismissed a month later, but a second lawsuit was then filed later in the same year. Jane Doe was apparently meant to show to a press conference, but cancelled and withdrew her case just days later for unknown reasons. This lawsuit, this specific one, which heavily details Trump and Epstein sexually assaulting the victim over several parties while at Epstein's parties during the summer of 1994, was filed in April of 2016, a year before the expose on Epstein broke, which confirmed his behavior with underage girls to the broader public. So yeah, this lawsuit happened before Epstein was even really publicly exposed in this manner, which kind of makes it more, the lawsuit kind of interesting to me, considering it predated that. Like, obviously the 2008 stuff existed, but I don't think that kind of stuff was as publicly known as it would become in 2017. So the fact that this lawsuit existed in 2016, it's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, he's far out. They do come thinking fast, don't they?
Yeah. The lawsuit is detailed and recalls events of sexual abuse, rape, and physical violence at the hands of both Trump and Epstein, and it also includes additional declarations and testimonies by one anonymous individual who claims that the victim being the person who is making the lawsuit. So the witness claims that the victim had spoken to them about the events in the 90s while they were schoolmates, basically, and also additional declarations and testimonies by another anonymous individual who claims that when she was 22, she was hired by Epstein to plan parties. This apparently very quickly became a role where she would attract adolescent women to attend the parties under the guise of modeling opportunities. The witness, named Tiffany Doe in the lawsuit, claims that she witnessed a 13-year-old victim being forced to perform various sexual acts with both Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She also makes a claim that Trump made the threat that he could have her whole family killed if anyone ever said anything. These claims in the lawsuit were introduced before the Epstein resurgence during 2018 when the Miami Herald exposed expose dropped, and well before Epstein was arrested on similar charges during 2019. This means that it's rather interesting that the victim accurately described Epstein's activities before his true culpability was eventually revealed to the public in the ensuing investigations, while also implicating Trump. However, these lawsuits were eventually dropped, with the Jane Doe claiming that she had done so because she had received multiple threats to her life. An investigation into the claims by The Guardian, though, found that the lawsuits appeared to have been organized by a man named Norm Lubau, who had been associated in the past with a range of disputed celebrities, including O.J. Simpson and Kurt Cobain. So the question of credibility is thrown into, obviously, disarray a little bit there, given that the person handling the lawsuit is one of those like celebrity lawyers who really just chases a paycheck. I mean, all lawyers do, obviously, but
yeah, especially if you're kind of one of those like
person.
Big Hollywood celebrities.
Yeah, so questionable. But again, I do find it interesting that there were two additional witnesses attached to the lawsuit in addition to the Jane Doe, and also the fact that a lot of the details in the case would then be later kind of validated, like Epstein's proclivity for sexual parties with underage women and his sex trafficking kind of modus operandi with like recruiting young women to perform for them and stuff like that would later be confirmed to be true. So the fact that this 2016 lawsuit kind of talks about those same things that it would eventually be proven is, yeah, I mean, the credibility is kind of interesting there. I go either way on this one, again, just due to the fact that it was withdrawn and also the fact that the people attached to the lawsuit are of questionable integrity.
All I can say is, obviously, because this is something that, you weren't there, how the hell would you know? But Trump going after 13-year-old girls. Like, I can believe a lot about that man's character. It doesn't seem to strike that way. What do you reckon? Do you really think that it's like, it's a big accusation, you know?
It's an enormous accusation, yes. But, I mean, we're talking about, I mean, if the whole idea of this enormous network of co-conspirators is true, it's implicating a lot of people. And again, I will go back and say there are a lot of pedophiles in the world, and there are also, simply put, a lot of powerful people who just believe that they can get away with things. So why not do it? Like, there are people that believe that they are powerful enough to get away with things. And yeah, I mean, it's just the system that they exist in.
The reason that I think that he probably, wouldn't be into that is because, like, I'm just imagining that the vast majority of people just aren't. You know what I mean? Just like on a primal sexual level, just aren't. And would be kind of like repulsed by the idea. It seems kind of strange that there's two people that are neighbors that are just doing this on the by. I mean, like, then the counter argument to it is that they're just like, they're rich and powerful and they can do that. But
not just that they can do that, but we're talking about rich and powerful people who can literally do anything. And it's the old hedonistic argument, right? That once you start being given everything is meaningless. So you keep trying to find new highs, which is probably why rich and powerful people are more likely to eventually kind of, I don't know, probably more likely to be pedophiles. And why we get so many high profile cases of pedophiles.
Yes. But like okay,
Hollywood, for example, look at the raw amount of pedophiles that have continuously existed in Hollywood.
The thing is, though, that like with Epstein, for instance, it seems like there is a long history of that man being attracted to minors. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, as Donald Trump put it, what did he say? Something like, it is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
That's what I'm saying. He says it like that. When it comes to like Epstein, he's just like, lots of beautiful women. I mean, Trump is very well known for his appetite with hot chicks. But that's the whole thing. He just has everyone at his expense in the world. And it's exactly the same with Epstein, and he can get away with it. It's just really weird that it's kind of like, all these Victoria's Secret models and some 13-year-olds on the side. Especially when you've just got like some Hollywood celebrity lawyer just being like, and is that what happened? Yes, that's exactly what happened. Anyway.
I just don't think there's anything that precludes him necessarily from being capable of something like this. Nothing in his kind of existence would really preclude me from thinking that it's a possibility.
Yeah, that's true. Plus, I've always got to remember that, like, my bias anytime with anyone, it's really strange, actually, for somebody who does just kind of sit there and, like, digs up on people and shits on all the time. Not just presuming innocence. I've always just got this thing of, like, there can't be this many psychos in the world, There just can't. But, over and over again, I am frequently proven wrong.
There are a lot of insane people, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. So, god damn, this is just the beginning of Donald Trump's fuck. I could be, all right. Let's see if I eat humble pie in like 3 or 4 pages.
Where was it?
Fuck, I am, aren't I? All right, go on.
So regardless, Trump and Epstein were certainly close friends during the 90s and early 2000s, and there is a plethora of evidence available, both from eyewitnesses and video evidence, that shows that both were frequent party companions of one another. Staff who worked at Epstein's home have claimed that Trump often visited his home at Palm Beach, the same one that was initially raided and where a lot of the hidden security cameras were located. These staff clarified that he never received any massages while at the home, but did dine there often. It's unconfirmed if he visited the Epstein's other residences, but he is frequently referenced in the Epstein flight logs, and Trump himself does claim that he never visited the island. These flight logs and Donald Trump's inclusion in the Little Black Book are the only real evidence that exists that suggests any deeper relationship between Donald Trump himself and the Epstein Files. However, this hasn't stopped insinuations and accusations from people that suggest that the information being withheld incriminates powerful people, including Donald Trump. As of this episode, information is certainly still being withheld, regardless of the several disclosures that have taken place at this point. Alan Dershowitz, a prominent lawyer who himself is accused of involvement in Epstein's trafficking network, has recently claimed, quote, "I know the names, I know why they're being suppressed, I know who's suppressing them," end quote. He followed up this quote by claiming that
Dershowitz.
I fucking hate him. He followed up, by the way, Dershowitz is also Epstein's ex-lawyer and also, I'm pretty sure, Trump's ex-lawyer, right?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, he is like the notorious, like, you got a problem, you come see me lawyer.
If you're important enough.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a former Trump lawyer. I'm pretty sure he's a former Epstein lawyer as well.
Yep.
So he followed up this quote by claiming that a court order disallows him from giving specifics. When pushed, though, he claimed that the people involved include politicians and business leaders alike. He also chose this moment to reaffirm that he is not in the files, even though he has previously claimed that he received massages at Epstein's estates, but, quote, I kept my
underwear on.
End quote. See, this is what I mean.
I smoked, but I did not inhale. Go on.
I was just saying, the rich and powerful, the wealthy elite are so comfortable with this that they're just making comments like this just out in the public to people. They're like, yeah, there's names on it, but I also got massages there, but don't worry about me. I kept my underwear on. Like, clearly there is a deep-rooted systemic issue here where so many people, from Dershowitz to Donald Trump to every other fucking wealthy, powerful person, Clinton, for example, Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, are all involved in this to some level where they come out with statements like this and think that it makes them look good. There is, like, how do you come out here and say that and think that, yeah, that's enough to assuage the public that I'm not guilty of victimizing young children?
Yeah, it's definitely a different world, isn't it?
It's not just a different world. It speaks to a level of comfort where, again, they know that they can get away with this.
Yeah.
And so they don't have to put any energy into even trying. That's what's concerning about this. They know that they've already won.
That is a good way of putting it. And so they're kind of just taking little hint jabs at one another. Sort of just pot shots using the press.
It's almost just fun and games for them.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the way to put it.
It's almost just fun and games for them. It's a concerning level of comfort.
Yeah.
That it indicates to me that there is some global conspiracy that exists to protect these individuals, and they have no level of fear about what retribution will be levied at them, because they know that they are at the wheel of the ship.
Yes.
So regardless, this is all to say that this idea of an expanded network and list of co-conspirators who currently are implicated in existing evidence isn't some fringe conspiracy that exists with little evidence to support it. In fact, almost everyone, including government officials across both sides of the aisle, agree that Epstein didn't act alone, and he likely has substantial proof that incriminates others. So where is that proof? Why have we not seen the evidence? Why are names not coming out? If everyone seemingly agrees and has agreed for several years now that there is this evidence that implicates others in a global pedophilic network, why have we not seen it? So we come to chapter 5, the blow up. So one of the major backers in Trump's presidential campaign was billionaire Elon Musk. Due to policy decisions by Donald Trump and his administration, however, their friendship and political cooperation has since crumbled, as everyone predicted it would. In a now deleted tweet that Musk has since apologized for, he accused Donald Trump of being in the Epstein Files, declaring this the reason the true extent of the files have not yet been made public. The quote reads, "Time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein Files. That is the reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT!" Exclamation point. Given Elon Musk is an individual who was very close to Donald Trump and the administration, to the point where he was regularly seen at cabinet meetings, and to the point where he even directly impacted policy decisions and department operations like the Department of Government Efficiency, named because it spells out Doge, this accusation inherently holds significant weight. I mean, it does. That just straight up does. Like, why would he say that otherwise? Obviously, to sow a bit of discontent, and it's not like Elon Musk hasn't made wild claims in the past. Like, remember when he called that Thai rescue operation diver like a pedophile as well, for some reason?
Oh, okay, right. Didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
No, that was a long time in the past. But regardless, well, not that long ago, but it was in the past.
Yes, yeah.
But also, like, that's different. He was just insulting a guy, whereas this is like a direct accusation that Donald Trump is in the Epstein Files, and it seems to be just discussed behind closed doors in the government. That's what his accusation is anyway. However, in a more recent disclosure of evidence and as a supposed conclusion to the government's investigation into the so-called Epstein Files, the Department of Justice and the FBI issued a joint statement concluding that there was no evidence of a client list that would implicate any high-profile individuals kept by Epstein, and they have also added that their investigation found that Epstein had, in fact, killed himself, as opposed to having been murdered, as some theories suggest, or that he was murdered while in jail. So yeah, I mean, so this is very recent. In the last week and a half, they've come out and basically said, yeah, guys, I know, last 4 years, we've all been saying Epstein didn't kill himself, and, you know, there's a network of pedophiles at the very top of the power chain that are orchestrating everything. Ooh, spooky. I know we've been saying that for 4 years straight now, but actually we looked into it and there's nothing there. Don't worry about it. Just look the other way. Just go, hey, how about those floods in Texas and stuff? That's pretty fucking crazy. You guys see the stock prices at the moment? Pretty cool. Hey, we're conducting ICE raids down in, you know, at the border and stuff. Want to look at that instead? Just look anywhere apart from this.
Yeah, with the added knowledge of the former attorney general that was looking into this, said that he was told to suppress it. Or not suppress it is not the right word. He was told to drop it.
Yes. That was in the 2008 case, yes.
In the 2008 case.
So how is there not evidence there? How is there not evidence there?
Nothing.
Like, there's directly an accusation made by a government official, prominent government official in 2008, that there was a concerted effort to drop the case due to some perceived level of, contaminating an intelligence operation, basically, or something like that. All right, so surely that was an intelligence operation conducted entirely and only by Jeffrey Epstein. It was his own intelligence agent, intelligence operation. There's no information there, no evidence really of any kind of co-conspiratory nature. Really? Nothing?
Damn, Jackson. You're red pilling me. You've compiled like quite a compelling case here.
Again, it's nothing hidden.
No. That's what's interesting about it. That, yeah, when you put all of this together, it's quite weighty.
Yeah, I don't think there's an actual future or reality that exists where there isn't something fishy going on here. Like, this is pretty
Pretty also,
undeniable.
It's undeniable, and it also, to me, honestly, when it comes to this level, it seems like it's inevitable that something will come out. You know what I'm saying? So, like with JFK, for instance, look, when it comes to JFK, I am one above an agnostic in the sense that I think that it was more likely than not that the CIA did do the deed. But I also think that it could have just been what, that he was in on it as well.
No, I said they fucked JFK. You said they did the deed. That's a sex thing. That's not killing someone.
Isn't it?
Yeah, no. Did the deed is sex. You're saying that you're
what are
accusing
you?
the CIA
Like
of fucking
a
JFK.
Cockney prospector from the 1800s. Who uses do the deed like that anymore?
When is it ever used in any other context?
Holy hell, Jackson. I honestly feel like that was just a time glitch there.
Maybe
like, I'm well aware that people have used that in the past. This is a lot like your, what was the beginning of this? No longer alive, and being like, well, that's your thing, isn't it?
Formerly alive.
Yeah, formerly alive.
Yeah, maybe I am from the 1800s. Spirit.
I mean, yes, obviously you can say dirty deeds like that. Totally. What can I say that it said? Assassinated? Is that okay? Or is that another sex term? Yeah, all right.
I mean, yeah,
probably.
It could be a sex term as well. I don't know. Rather kinky, but I like where you're going. Go to the toilet, and once you get back, we'll talk more about these new sexual.
Yeah, good. You chugged me out of a hole anyway, because I can't even remember what my point was. I'll be back.
All right, so back to the memo. The memo read, U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation. As part of that commitment to transparency, the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation have conducted an exhaustive review of investigative holdings relating to Jeffrey Epstein. To ensure that the review was thorough, the FBI conducted digital searches of its databases, hard drives, and network drives, as well as physical searches of squad areas, locked cabinets, desks, closets, and other areas where responsive material may have been stored. These searches uncovered a significant amount of material, including more than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence. Now, to put it in terms of people that don't know what a gigabyte is or what storage is, that's a lot of information. That's a lot of files, especially if the video files that they did review weren't 4K footage, probably more like 720 or 1080p footage. Then, yeah, that's a lot of evidence. The files relating to Epstein include a large volume of images of Epstein, images and videos of victims who are either minors or appear to be minors, and over 10,000 downloaded videos and images of illegal child sex abuse material and other pornography. Teams of agents, analysts, attorneys, and privacy and civil liberties experts comb through the digital and documentary evidence with the aim of providing as much information as possible to the public while simultaneously protecting the victims. Much of the material is subject to court-ordered sealing. Only a fraction of this material would have been aired publicly had Epstein gone to trial, as the seal served only to protect victims and did not expose any additional third parties to allegations of illegal wrongdoing. Wait, let me read that. Only a fraction of this material would have been aired publicly, as the seal served only to protect victims and did not expose any additional third parties to allegations. So is it saying there that the seal serves to not expose any additional third parties to allegations of illegal wrongdoing? I mean, that's straight up just saying, like, the seal serves to protect people who may otherwise be incriminated, right?
There could be good legal reasons for that. I know that when it comes to murder cases, for instance, if you are trialing one person, it can be bad to implicate other people in that specific murder trial. Like, you're trying to just get like a clean conviction on one, huh?
Sure, but the person that they're implicating here or convicting is dead, so there really is no legal justification to protect other people involved in the case, other than the victims, of course.
Other than the victims, that's true.
I think I'm just misreading this sentence though. It says, as the seal served only to protect victims and did not expose. I think they're saying it did not expose any additional third parties to allegations. Like nothing under the seal would have exposed any additional third parties to allegations of illegal wrongdoing. I think I just interpreted it wrong in the first place.
Oh, okay. Well, carry on.
Through this review, we found no basis to revisit the disclosure of these materials and will not permit the release of child pornography. Yeah, no one's asking to see the fucking child pornography, by the way. No one's like, hey, show us the
publicly.
CP. We need to be sure. Like, obviously not. No one's.
Yeah,
no
that's
one wants
Epstein,
that.
all right. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Fair enough. Yeah, all right. Two things that Jackson needed to get on the record.
This systematic review, this is still the memo. This systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Consistent with prior disclosures, this review confirmed that Epstein harmed over 1,000 victims. Each suffered unique trauma. Sensitive information relating to these victims is intertwined throughout the materials. This includes specific details such as victim names and likenesses, physical descriptions, places of birth, associates, and employment history. So let me get this straight, right? Epstein, the government wants us to believe that Epstein victimized over 1,000 children or minors, whatever, interchangeable. 1,000 women, girls. He victimized 1,000 people, and he also recorded all of this, stored all of this, and also collected information, including victim names, likenesses, physical descriptions, places of birth, associates, and employment history. So, like, he collected all of this information. That's not just a simple pedophile, like, who's down the street, you know, grooming people on Twitter or Discord or whatever. This isn't someone like that. This behavior speaks of a comprehensive network. Otherwise, what other reason would there be to collect all of that information on his part? Can you make that make sense to me?
No.
Like, if he was just acting for his own sick, depraved pleasure, he wouldn't even bother with any of that. He would just groom and have sex with his victims, right? That's all it would be, surely.
I suppose the system makes it easier to do. It's a long, extensive way of going about it, and also makes it a lot more likely that you're going to get caught. Or maybe, maybe it makes it less likely. I don't know. I mean, evidently it makes it less likely. Huh?
Well, less likely to be caught if it's a blackmail operation or something like that. Or like a total network of people involved in this. But again, this behavior of thousands of victims, as well as consistently collating and collecting all of this information about them, speaks more so to like the cases that I see where it's like a network of online pedophiles who all collect and share that information in the first place with one another. It doesn't speak to a case of a guy who gets massages from underage women and secretly films it.
Yes.
For his own sexual pleasure. Very strange idea that he went through all of this kind of concerted effort if there was no network involved to share that information with. One of our highest priorities, this is again the memo, one of our highest priorities is combating child exploitation and bringing justice to victims. Perpetuating unfounded theories about Epstein serves neither of those ends. To that end, while we have labored to provide the public with maximum information regarding Epstein and ensured examination of any evidence in the government's possession, it is the determination of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. So basically, we're done. That's it. That's all you're getting. Get the fuck off our porch. Get off our lawn. That's it. That's all of the Epstein information we're willing to share with you guys. And then they, of course, use the excuse that it doesn't serve justice to continue this kind of investigation. When they've, again, spent the last 5 years claiming that every powerful person is in some way connected to Epstein.
Why has this come out now, though?
What do you mean? Because they've campaigned on it and we're getting extensive pressure to release files. receiving extensive pressure, public pressure. I sincerely believe that they campaigned on it thinking that they could just kind of bury it and just move on and not have to deal with it.
Right, okay. Yes.
It's just, I think it's just arrogance. Again, these powerful, very wealthy people think, again, it's like a game, like Alan Dershowitz was saying. It's like a game. They just, it's fun. It's not fun, but it's just like...
Yeah, kind of like a political ploy that gets people animated.
Yes. It's just they don't take it that seriously. Now, do you think that
this, because this is something that MAGA, I would imagine, really care about, right?
Yeah.
Well...
Yeah, I don't think the reception to this has been very positive on the conservative side of the aisle.
Okay, so it actually is impacting Trump.
I don't know if I would... I don't know. I've seen a lot of... It's hard to say what the perception has been online. I've seen a lot of negative comments, but I have also seen a lot of positive comments. Not positive comments, but comments defending Trump, like, or the administration more so, being like, well, this doesn't matter. There was like literally one tweet, and again, these could be like fake tweets made by the other side or whatever. Like it's so hard to determine what's real out there anymore. But like there were tweets that were saying things like, I don't care if he's a pedophile as long as he like follows through with our policy demands and stuff like that. It's like, okay, obviously that's not a widespread belief. There definitely is, to give credit where it's due, a lot of outrage on the conservative side that this has not been fulfilled to the true extent of what people had wanted. But
generally, the internet's opinion is to just be extremely skeptical of the FBI's release.
Yeah, fair, like completely fair as well. Again, like I said at the top of this, if the theory that there is a network of very powerful people who are a part of the government, like the entire premise is of government interference basically and government burying these reports. So how could we possibly like take whatever they give us with just blind faith? You can't, because the entire concept is of them lying to us.
You know what else I would be if this was truly to the extent of what people believe it is? I would be very, very scared to say anything about it if I was the director of the FBI or one of the investigators involved in it. As was hinted by the first Attorney General, who was saying, drop it, this is just part of intelligence. They're essentially just saying, if you don't shut up about it, we'll kill you.
Yeah, 100%.
And, police are human beings as well. Like they wear badges and things. Yeah.
Yes, no, you don't even have to be fearful of your own life. Like these are powerful people who can make your families disappear. Like that's, at some point, self-preservation just wins out.
Especially when I'm imagining do you think that the network still exists, or does it kind of die with Epstein? You would imagine that it dies with Epstein, right? Because
Epstein certainly seemed like the ringleader, let's say, or the main focal point of the network. So yeah, I would assume that. I mean, it's not like, hey, Epstein died, pedophilia is now eradicated at the highest level. Like I'm sure that the network shifted, or a supposed network would just shift into a new network. But yeah, the Epstein network, for all intents and purposes, probably died with Epstein, and then it's just shifted into something new, is what my guess would be. So after a thorough investigation, FBI investigators conclude, this is still the memo, FBI investigators concluded that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City on August 10, 2019. This conclusion is consistent with previous findings, including the August 19, 2019 autopsy findings of the New York City Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, the November 2019 position of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, in connection with the investigation of federal correctional officers responsible for guarding Epstein, and the June 2023 conclusions of DOJ's Office of the Inspector General. The conclusion that Epstein died by suicide is further supported by video footage from the common area of the Special Housing Unit, or the SHU, where Epstein was housed at the time of his death. As DOJ's Inspector General explained in 2023, anyone entering or attempting to enter the tier where Epstein's cell was located from the SHU common area would have been captured by this footage. The FBI's independent review of this footage confirmed that from the time Epstein was locked in his cell at around 10:40 p.m. on August 9, 2019, until around 6:30 a.m. the next morning, nobody entered any of the tiers in the shoe. During this review, the FBI enhanced the relevant footage by increasing its contrast, balancing the color, and improving its sharpness for greater clarity and viewability. The full raw and enhanced videos are available at the following links, and then they provided 2 links leading to the video files, one edited with the color changes and such for increased viewability, and the other apparently being the raw video file. You've heard about this, right? The 11 hours of footage that they released.
And then there's 1 minute missing.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Okay.
So to sum up this memo, this is Jackson speaking again. This is not reading the FBI memo anymore. This is my writing.
Right. It's inconclusive.
So to sum up this memo, they concluded a thorough and extensive review recovering over 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence. The evidence included victims who were or appeared to be minors. This is court sealed to protect the victims. The victim list totaled over 1,000 people, and the files included their sensitive details. No incriminating so-called client list was found, and no evidence of Epstein's blackmailing was found. I want to touch on that real quick. The so-called client list that the Department of Justice keeps referring to, or the administration keeps referring to, I don't think anyone is really suggesting that Epstein had a pedophile list, basically, of just like some hidden document in his drawers that said everyone on this list is a pedophile. What people are more referring to as the client list is the outcome of the investigation, identifying people in videos and people's who have visited his island at certain times when victimization took place, some kind of actual investigative result that, ended in a list created that incriminated other people, which again, I 100% believe that other people are involved in this and there would be evidence showing that they were involved in this and they would be able to create a client list from this. So I don't think there's a so-called client list that Jeffrey Epstein had, or at least I think it's relatively low. There's a low chance of that existing, especially now. I definitely think that there would be evidence to put together your own client list, basically, through the investigation.
Yes, okay.
No evidence of any uncharged third parties was found. The Department of Justice will never release the child sex abuse material, good, and also determined that no further disclosure of materials is appropriate or warranted, bad. The FBI concluded that Epstein died by suicide in his cell on August 10th, 2019, agreed by the NYC Medical Examiner, U.S. Attorney's Office, and DOJ Inspector General. They released video footage showing no one entered where his cell was from 10:40 p.m. to 6:30 a.m., the footage enhanced for clarity. The memo doesn't include information about the infamous missing minute of footage. And we come to contradictory statements. So the press release regarding the updates on the Epstein case has highlighted many contradictory statements made by the US government, Trump, and his administration's representatives. Back in February 2025, Pam Bondi was asked on Fox News about the Epstein client list and whether or not it would be released to the public. She responded affirmatively that, quote, "It's sitting on my desk now to review," end quote. She has since clarified that she was essentially talking about the entirety of the files regarding his crimes, not just a client list. However, those weren't the only statements she made earlier this year. She gave the FBI New York office until February 28th to turn over the case and documents of Epstein, saying, quote, "A truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. We're going to go through it as fast as we can, but go through it very cautiously to protect all the victims of Epstein because there are a lot of victims," end quote. And also, quote, "So we got them all, the evidence, hopefully all of them, thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them to get a detailed report on why they have been withheld, and we can get it out to the American people because the American people have a right to know," end quote. The current director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Kash Patel, also has changed his opinion on the Epstein files since taking on his new role in the Trump administration. So in 2023, he spoke to influencer Benny Johnson and commented about the files in the FBI, quote, "Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are," end quote. But this was before he was elected, nominated to the position of director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And he responded to the question on why the FBI would protect Epstein by saying, quote, "Simple, because of who is on that list," end quote. He commented on the Stu Peters show that Epstein's death didn't look like a suicide. Now, however, now that he's director of the FBI, Kash Patel firmly comments that he believes Epstein's death was a suicide. There is also Dan Bongino, the current deputy director of the FBI, who was also similarly opinionated about Epstein before his role in the current administration. He even went so far as to suggest, before taking on the role, that Epstein was an intelligence asset of a foreign government. He also talked about videos taken by Epstein, and many people knew about them and had them adding fire to the blackmail theory that many believe. He has also since affirmed the stance of the Department of Justice post-disclosure and post-memo. So they're all falling into line, basically, behind the belief of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Justice, what they've concluded. So everyone who was previously, again, saying for many years now, you know, there's a list, there's pedophiles, it's a network, they've now all fallen in line. J.D. Vance, the vice president, while on a podcast episode with Theo Von in October of 2024, indicated that he firmly believed that they need to release the Epstein Files now. Donald Trump himself has in the past suggested firmly that he believes in the existence of the Epstein Files, indicating that people such as Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew would have trouble coming their way if the Epstein Files were ever released. You've seen those videos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he's like very clearly insinuating that Prince Andrew is involved as well as Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
And then he knows that. So, I mean, those were on the campaign trail and things like that. So, you know, there's debate there whether it's Donald Trump, whether he's actually speaking honestly or not.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, again, the games the rich and powerful play. In a video by Voidzilla, which is CoffeeZilla's old account, you've got experience with coffee.
Mm-hmm.
He presents these statements in a timeline that shows the contradicting statements. During Trump's presidential campaign in 2024, he said that he would release the government files containing Jeffrey Epstein. At the same time, he tried to distance himself from Epstein, however. In a podcast with Lex Friedman, he said, quote, "I'm not involved." Oh, wait, no, wait, this is you.
I'm not involved. I never went to his island, fortunately, but many people did.
Oh, man. The island in question is Little St. James Island, which was owned by Jeffrey Epstein from 1998 until his death. However, as the files released were nothing more than what had already been released by previous investigations, many are justifiably unhappy with the administration's handling of the supposed incriminating evidence. In a recent cabinet meeting, Donald Trump was asked a question regarding the files, the disclosure, and the Department of Justice's conclusion, and he replied,
"Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. I can't believe you're still asking a question on Epstein at a time like this. We're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a discretion. It just seems like a desiccation."
I like it. It is a classic common Trump W. Don't you think? It's so good.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? I thought we settled this. I thought me coming out and saying there's no evidence was enough. Just the arrogance.
And it's just incredible as well because it's obviously a tool that he uses on the campaign trail to blaze up his audience. And
except it's not going over super well with his audience now. I think he's running into a bit of a wall here. People are not happy about this kind of this kind of burying of the case, really. Like, people do care about this.
Man, I wonder if he has the riz to get people to start chanting at rallies, "Shut up about Epstein." Wouldn't that be incredible?
Oh, if he actually turns the public opinion around. So
turns the public opinion around. And like,
no
if there's one man that can do
Epstein.
it. Yeah.
Man, I mean...
Hide the files.
Honestly, his reaction here is interesting to me because I 100% believe that Donald Trump is aware enough of his base to know that this wouldn't go over well, and yet he still blatantly just attempts to bury it.
Well, I think that a lot of the time when you look at what Donald Trump passes when he's in office, a classic example of this is, you know how Donald Trump would always just be out at the rallies talking about plastic straws and how much he hates them? And then he just passes like the Plastic Straw Act as like an executive order as soon as he gets in.
Yeah, but that's popular with his base.
I think that it's just like he made it popular with his base. It's like the plastic industry just wanted to sell plastic straws again.
Yeah,
and so he just
of
started
course.
talking about it heaps, being like,
They're very inconvenient. Sometimes the paper, it's mush. It's paper mache in your Coca-Cola.
No, but he factors or packages that in the digestible way to his base of being like paper straws are woke, basically, like they're being pushed on us, etc. No, it's true, and that's just how he packages stuff to make it more palatable. There's no way you could package this in a way that's palatable to most people. Of just saying, yeah, that thing you've been asking for the entire time. Just ignore it. Move on, please.
okay, so
Like
you are in the theory that this is taking skin off of Trump. Him hiding the Epstein files. Because, yeah, you're right. I would imagine it seems like there was, at the very least. Now, I think that this definitely plays into it to some degree. Having not known anything except for what you're reading about it. Just rap with me here, people, because there's obviously going to be people that are like very invested in this and know way more than me. So like on the face value of what I'm looking at here, yes, it's obvious that they're hiding something. I think that what has happened as well, though, is that the Republican side of politics has been like gassing up how much there actually is. And I think that Donald Trump is now facing the political consequences of that. In that, like, first it was like
certainly
advantageous for him to do it, and now it's not.
I'm certainly aware of the possibility that they very may well have no evidence. Like, there's nothing themselves that suggests or shows, like, they're basically being honest. What I have an issue with is, like you said, they back themselves into a corner where they're basically, it's an unwinnable situation because they have been talking nonstop about how there is more here. And then as soon as they get in office, they immediately, well, they not immediately, but they come out and say that there is nothing there. Yes. And I think that's just, it's, and again, I personally don't, again, just due to the facts of the case and everything that's happened, it certainly indicates to me that there's a network involved in the proliferation of the child sex trafficking that took place. It's just the scale of it, the extent that Epstein was involved with other people, the extent of which he collected information and stuff, again, speaks more of a network. So when you combine that with this, it certainly looks more like a cover-up to me.
Yeah, but I think also
I'm not dismissing the possibility that they are just incompetent and stupid and gassed it up, and then when they got there, they realized, oh shit, there actually is no evidence.
No. I'm very much convinced in the same regard that you are, Jackson, that there is something that they're hiding here. The reason that I do is because the comments like that from Trump, surely if there was nothing there, your response would be like, look, we've released it. Just shut up. Like, okay, like we've gone through this 1,000 times. I fulfilled my promise. I said that when I got in, I'd look into it, and there's nothing there, right? It's weird to have this kind of response of like, why are you still talking? It's very disrespectful. There was a flood today, like. Yeah. It does seem cover-uppy. It does seem cover-uppy.
The arrogance to kind of gaslight the public that they shouldn't care about this thing. Definitely more cover-uppy than just like we did our due diligence and stuff. Like you could just argue that. You could just like say, yeah, we went through everything extensively. You guys are just going to have to take our word for it, basically, that we did. But yeah, we did do everything. Instead, it's shifted into this kind of like gaslight attitude where it's like, you guys care about Epstein? What the fuck's wrong with you losers? We talked about it for years. Get over it.
Yeah. That's the strange part about it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the security footage. Oh, sorry. So this obviously indicated that Donald Trump is more than happy to put the issue to bed and move on. Where this obviously falls flat with the public is when Donald Trump himself is believed to exist to some degree in the evidence that the government is now trying to move past. So the security footage. Along with the memo, the DOJ and FBI released prison security footage of the... I should have done... So You're still talking about my flub then?
File not found. Yeah. We're still talking about this.
It
We've got many more words to go through. Some of them fantastic words, and some of them, frankly, very tragic words.
Oh man, so good. So along with a memo, the DOJ and FBI released prison security footage of the entire night of Epstein's death, as we discussed previously, hoping it would add clarity and diffuse any questions on anyone entering Epstein's room that night. The view from the camera partially shows the facility's common area, and the door to Epstein's room is just out of view to the right. When this video was released, however, people immediately noticed something. A glitch occurs right before midnight, skipping a minute from 11:59 to 12 a.m. Bondi tried to explain the missing minute when asked about it, explaining that, quote, the minute missing from the video, we released a video showing definitively. The video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was, showing he committed suicide. What was on that? There was a minute off the counter, and what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing.
Yeah, okay, so what do you have a problem with that? That seems perfectly plausible to me.
Yeah, 100%. I believe that that's I believe that that's a believable excuse that they could throw out there. I don't believe it would be kind of weird that someone would be able to pull off and orchestrate a suicide in a 60-second time span, and then they would just delete that and not cover that up as well. Like they could have just covered that up by digitally altering the time code on the screen. Basically, that could be fairly simple.
Okay. So
I'm inclined to believe that it is just really old prison equipment that they do not upkeep, because it is. That's a story we hear all the time, right? I will say, though, it is extremely odd to me that all of the other cameras stopped working in the prison on that night, and this is the only camera that worked in that wing.
Are you serious? I didn't know
That's
that
what
part.
They said. That's what they said. They said that every other camera was not
now
working
I'm back
in
on
that
board
area.
again.
Yeah, I mean, very strange. Either the prison system is incredibly incompetent, which is also probably true, or there is some weird level of cover-up and, obstruction here. So she continues, so we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night and that it's on Epstein, end quote. In a case full of conspiracies and questions of powerful individuals contorting information to support their arguments or obscuring evidence in general to hide their culpability and guilt, this obviously did very little to dispel concerns. It was also recently revealed by Wired magazine after an investigation and analysis conducted by independent video forensics experts that the supposed full raw surveillance footage was not actually as raw as the administration claimed. And this broke today, by the way. This is what I woke up to and had to immediately add to this document before we started recording.
Now we're getting somewhere nice.
The assumption was, as described by Raw, that the video footage was footage directly taken from the recording system of the prison and uploaded without any additional edits or re-rendering. However, after analysis scrutinized the file metadata of the files uploaded by the Department of Justice, it was revealed that the file contained indicators that the file had been modified, and there was evidence to suggest that the professional video editing software, Adobe Premiere Pro, fuck Adobe by the way, was utilized in the creation of the file. The file was then assembled. I use Adobe Premiere Pro every single fucking day. I hate Adobe so much.
Well, then why are you using it?
They have a fucking grip on my nutsack. I don't know how to say it any other way. They own the industry. I mean, I could just use other software for sure, but...
Okay, so Adobe is Epstein and you're Prince Andrew. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I get. They got too much information on me. They know what I've been editing. No, they it's just
you got no other choice.
Yeah, it's how I was taught growing up.
Oh, what about iMovie?
Oh yeah, it's thick. Actually, I did learn on Movie Maker. I could go back to Movie Maker, Windows Movie Maker. Oh, God, the file was then assembled from at least 2 source clips being what would actually be the raw files directly from the security system hard drives, saved multiple times, and then exported and uploaded to the Department of Justice's website, where it was then presented by the administration as raw footage. While experts are certain that the file is not an original, it's currently not known what exactly was changed, and it's entirely possible that the only action that the Department of Justice undertook was to place 2 separate raw clips, so raw recordings from the hard drives, into the software to then combine them into one video, which they then rendered out using Adobe Premiere Pro. I mean, you know what that means.
Yes, I do. I hope that the rest of the audience does.
Yeah, I tried to dumb it down as much as possible. Regardless, this is obviously fuel for the fire and does nothing to help the perception of a cover-up. So basically, the metadata just basically means that it was put into a video editing software at some point in time. It's not taken directly from the hard drive of the video recording, system. So the cameras at the prison and uploaded directly to the website. It did go through a middle ground of Premiere Pro in the first case, which is where edits would realistically happen if they were to edit things. So it's unknown. Regardless, it's not raw footage. The original memo released by the Department of Justice does claim, quote, during this review, the FBI enhanced the relevant footage by increasing its contrast, balancing the color, and improving its sharpness for greater clarity and viewability, end quote. However, this refers specifically to the second video, and they further stress in that very memo that the first video is raw and not subject to those changes, but as we just discussed, definitely not raw. As if there wasn't already enough doubt about the video camera footage, there also exist questions as to the video length itself outside of the visible minute that is missing. The video starts at 7:40 p.m. and ends at 6:40 a.m., as shown by on-screen time indications. So doing some quick math, this time totals 10 hours and 59 minutes after taking into account the missing minute. However, if you open up the video in your video player of choice, for some reason, the video length itself is actually 10 hours and 52 minutes.
Oh, damn.
All of these minutes.
Okay, yeah, sorry, go.
Well, I mean, it's just very strange. All of these minutes are accounted for in the video itself, so you can like scrub through and see every single minute displayed in the time, like the time on the screen. But oddly enough, the video itself seems to be playing at 1.01 times speed. That means every real-time hour that passes while watching the video actually passes 1 hour and 36 seconds in the video. It's currently unknown why that oddity exists in the video file. A possible theory is that perhaps they had intended to slow down the video by an unperceivable amount to obfuscate from the missing minute, but accidentally sped the video up instead. However, this idea seems hard to believe considering the minute missing is very visible by simply looking at the video on-screen timestamps, meaning employing such a tactic would simply be useless if that was
Jackson,
their agenda.
as an Adobe Premiere Pro simp, does that add up? Is there any reason that you would do that?
No, I was racking my brain about it. The only concept that came to mind is sometimes if you put in a video file into Premiere Pro, this has been my experience. I'm not sure if this is widespread with the software, but let's say I put a source file that is 24 frames per second into a sequence. So what Adobe will render that video out as, and I've got the sequence settings as like 30 frames per second, for example. Sometimes, like, there might be an interpolation issue there between converting that source file into the 30 frames per second output, which I guess might result in like weird time distortion where it could appear sped up maybe. But as far as I know, Premiere still basically just adds additional frames to make up for that difference. This is very technical, but like, I think Premiere does a fairly decent job of interpolating that so that there is no actual time difference. You're just getting additional frames inserted. So even that doesn't necessarily make sense as an excuse for me. The only way I could see the time being different, the actual time, like the time contradiction, let's call it, is if they manually sped it up or sped it down, the source file. Which again, I don't know why they would have done that. But that's
okay.
That's
well, then there you go. It has been sped up. That is a fact. And Jackson, Adobe Premiere Pro enthusiast, can't think of a reason for it. That's incredible.
There's probably people way smarter than me that can let us know down in the comments because I am very interested in that.
But as you said, you spend most of your life staring at Adobe.
Yeah, a lot of time staring at Adobe for sure. But we're talking about time interpolation stuff, which is it's not.
All right, yeah, and you're not a time expert. Okay.
Yeah. I operate on a 3D level, not a 4D level. I don't understand time.
You don't understand it.
What is it?
Like, not even the Greenwich chime system. All right. No wonder you were so angry before about me saying that 2004 was close to 2005. The knowledge confused
Stop bringing
you.
up time. It's so confusing. So annoying. No, but yeah, understanding how like video editing software and video files,
Generally follow that said sequence.
yeah, how they kind of interpolate time is not something that I'm an expert in. So someone might be in the comments. Maybe Premiere does do that. I'm not sure. In the report on Epstein's death, investigation and review of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, custody, care, and supervision of Jeffrey Epstein at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York, New York. What is this, like an SNL skit? It's like an SNL title. In New York,
was that
New
a
York.
typo or was that a skit? I don't know.
In New York, New York. Released in June 2023, the Department of Justice reported that, quote, although the security cameras were working and transmitting live video, recorded video from most of the cameras in the shoe area, which is approximately 11 cameras, was not available due to a malfunction of the video recording system that occurred on July 29, 2019, including video from the camera at the end of the L tier, which is where Epstein was housed, end quote. So if the important footage proving if someone was shown to come or go from Epstein's room was not available, then simply put, why is it now? And furthermore, why is the evidence enough to concretely put to rest this idea that Epstein may not have killed himself? In the same report from 2023, the officers in the area did not perform their required duties to account for inmates' well-being and whereabouts because they had apparently fallen asleep. Quote, Guard also admitted to the OIG that he dozed off for periods of time during his shift. The OIG's analysis of the shoe security camera video revealed that after approximately 10:40 p.m., no CO entered Epstein's tier in the shoe until just before 6:30 a.m., when Noel and Thomas began to serve breakfast to the inmates, end quote. They also fabricated their reports and lied that they had conducted the rounds and counts during their shift, which is obviously a big violation. This had meant that they did not check in or see Epstein that night. In this new footage, despite previously reporting that the staff had not checked in on Epstein and he was, quote, alone and unobserved in his cell for an extended period of time, end quote, it was noticed that at around 10:40 p.m., you can see a sliver of orange indicating that someone was climbing the stairs of his tier, his area of the prison. So in this picture right now on screen, and you're probably looking at it as well,
yeah,
you can see that little sliver of orange there that appears for a second in the corner. Now, that's interesting.
I got to say, that's quite Loch Ness Monstery. What do you think?
I mean, in the video, it shows up for like very briefly, just a few frames, and then disappears like it is a person's outfit. So I would definitely agree that there was someone there in the camera footage. So their claim that he was alone and unobserved in his cell and that they didn't see anyone in the camera footage at the time is categorically untrue, in my opinion. Like, there seems to be someone there.
All right.
So take a look at all of the railings in the following pictures and see if you notice a difference in the railings. In particular, each tier, so that's J tier, L tier, and G tier, each of these stairs have either brown or black railings, as shown in this report from 2023. The camera footage released by the Department of Justice was from a camera positioned at the top of G tier. So do you see this map?
Yes.
Okay, so see where L tier is? Pointing to those stairs over there. That's where Epstein's cell is, in that
resides,
little area. Yeah. Whereas the camera is from up in G tier, so at the top of the stairs. And there's also so you see the railings of each of those tiers. So if the camera is positioned at G tier and the video and the evidence in the document that they released, the 2023 report, see the crime scene photos that they've also got in that picture. They've taken pictures of G tier stairs, which is where the camera is pointing down from. Those stairs, those handrails are colored black in that, whereas in the video camera footage released in 2025, what color are those handrails?
They're wood.
They're not black.
They're not black. That's for damn sure. I can attest. Oh, shit.
And just to reaffirm, those pictures from that 2023 report are the crime scene photos from the day, I assume, where Epstein was murdered, which means that if we were to believe that those pictures from the crime scene were taken on the day of the crime, basically, those staircase handrails should be black.
Explain that.
I mean, that is actually pretty compelling to me.
It's pretty damn compelling. I like it.
So either the crime scene photos are fake, or this video footage is not from the day of the crime.
Okay, honestly, the handrail thing that's the best thing in this entire document.
It's pretty interesting, I'm going to say.
It's pretty damn good.
So in the newly released footage, all of the railings are unpainted and brown, while in the crime photos, only one is unpainted and brown and the others are black. Did they allow someone to come in and paint the railings during the investigation after his death and before the crime scene photos were taken? This would have been a very slim time window and is not a good look to allow changes in the environment when it should be taped off to everyone. Other suggestions have been made that the footage of two different places, despite being labeled the same or the original photos in the report, were possibly incorrectly labeled. However, if the images from the 2023 report are indeed from the crime scene photos and the camera footage itself shows the staircase's railings as being brown, there is obviously a large contradiction here between the camera footage and the crime scene photos. I can't explain it. I don't know why that would be the case. It's very strange. In the new footage, there has also been confusion over where in the prison the camera is located. It is not located at the door to Epstein's room, as many think. In the image below, the red arrow points to the door, mostly hidden, that leads to Epstein's room. His cell is not visible in this footage, and the viewpoint of several green prison doors is rather misleading. His cell was actually on the lower level and around the corner of the wall shown in the video footage. There's no direct video camera footage of his cell door, basically.
No.
So, yeah, what did you think that these doors right here were his prison doors? No. So, this picture down here, the one that says source depiction from 2023 document explaining camera view, you see that one?
Yeah.
If you zoom right in, you can see the camera icon showing the angle of the camera where this is from their report as well. And then you can see where Epstein's cell is. So that field of view of the camera angle shows nothing of Epstein's cell, basically, other than maybe a vague entryway.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, these green doors that are in the video footage, I've seen lots of people believe that like Epstein's door must be one of those. No.
Yeah.
It's down behind that balcony on the ground floor and around the corner. And again, this is presumably because all the other cameras in the area stopped working.
Are broken,
apparently.
yes.
So regardless of whether or not Epstein did himself or if he was murdered as the conspiracy theories go, the evidence supplied to the public to prove the administration's belief on the matter has so far been met with resistance and little appreciation due to these contradictions. Most do not find it compelling evidence to assuage their beliefs, and at this point, the government and administrations have had more than enough time to doctor footage and obscure evidence to support their basis regardless. Remember, Epstein died 6 years ago at this point. That's a lot of time to make whatever footage you want to present. And the fact that there are even still contradictions in what they have supplied is pretty remarkable. On the topic of Epstein's death officially being ruled as suicide, his brother Mark himself has responded saying the new statements are laughable. Quote, every time they say something to do something to try and quash the fact that he was most likely murdered, they just put their foot further down their mouths, end quote. Mark has been very public about his doubts regarding his brother's autopsy report, believing Jeffrey might have been murdered. In a New York Post article from 2019, Mark said that the authorities were, quote, playing games, end quote, as he tried to unravel the mystery that was his brother's death, being blocked from finding more information about injuries present at the time of the death, including contusion on both wrists, a forearm abrasion, and deep muscle hemorrhaging on the left shoulder. He also hired a pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden, who pointed to 3 bone fractures in Jeffrey's neck as evidence that it, quote, points more to homicide rather than suicide, end quote. And then this is a direct quote from Mark Epstein to Fox News, quote, those are unexplained. Was he handcuffed and struggling? Was someone holding his wrists? The marks on his wrists were unexplained. They're playing games. I've done the appropriate requests with justice twice and have heard nothing. I was told someone is looking into it. I have no standing to sue. People should know the truth about what can happen in a federal facility. My brother might have been murdered. This is not about me, end quote. Well, to be fair, I don't care if Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. I care if whoever murdered him did so to hide their own involvement in the victimization of a lot of young women.
Has Mark Epstein said why he cares? Does he think that Jeffrey Epstein's innocent, or like he just thinks that his brother was murdered in prison?
I think he just thinks he was murdered.
And that's it. Like, he hasn't really said any other comments about it.
Let me check. I don't think so. There is an article from 2019 from Newsweek. Epstein's brother insists Jeffrey was innocent and didn't commit suicide. He says, quote, "He was innocent and until proven guilty, you are entitled to bail in America."
Right, okay. So he just thinks that he was wantonly murdered. Generally, people, though, think that he was murdered because he was part of this big intelligence network thing.
Yeah, he continues, quote, "Do I think that it was inappropriate for him at age 50 or 60 to be with women who were 18 or 20? Yes, but it certainly wasn't illegal and it wasn't sex trafficking." Yeah, but the lawsuits weren't about him having sex with 18 to 20-year-old women. It was about him coercing minors into into sex. He also said, though, quote, "I could see if he got a life sentence, I could see him taking himself out, but he had a bail hearing coming up," which is also further kind of interesting.
Yes.
So the question of the co-conspirators and the network. So far, we've discussed and explored the administration's inability to provide compelling evidence about the Epstein files in detail, and we've also explored Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein's relationship closely. However, we also need to question the entire concept of there being a co-conspiratory network of wealthy and powerful predators who aided and abetted or were otherwise being blackmailed by Jeffrey during his crimes. We need to question this due to the fact that the administration and government now asserts that there is no network and no co-conspirators and no evidence to suggest that Jeffrey was blackmailing anyone. However, this simply does not track. Existing assertions have been made by many different reputable people, nor does it make sense when you factor in the scale of the crimes and the charges laid upon Ghislaine Maxwell. In 2022, Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty of 5 charges. 1. Conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. 2. Conspiracy to transport minors to participate in illegal sex acts. 3. Transporting a minor to participate in illegal sex acts. 4. Sex trafficking conspiracy. And 5. Sex trafficking of a minor. She was acquitted of 1 count, which is enticing a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. She was sentenced, however, from the 4 other charges to 20 years in prison and ordered to pay a fine of $750,000. Included in the press release was a statement by the U.S. Attorney Damian Williams. Quote, "Today's sentence holds Ghislaine Maxwell accountable for perpetrating heinous crimes against children. This sentence sends a strong message that no one is above the law and it is never too late for justice. We again express our gratitude to Epstein and Maxwell's victims for their courage in coming forward, in testifying at trial, and in sharing their stories as part of today's sentencing. There is no statement that other third parties were involved in this case. However, there are a few things we need to take into account that support the theory that important figures, possibly including Trump, might have been involved in Epstein and Maxwell's trafficking of young girls." So the several victims that came forth in Maxwell's case talked about other high-profile individuals that they were introduced to. One of the victims named Donald Trump specifically, as well as Prince Andrew and Epstein's family. Virginia Giuffre, another victim, alleged that she was trafficked to Prince Andrew and sexually abused by him, filing a lawsuit to hold him accountable. She claims these incidents took place between 2001 and 2002, with one incident occurring in Epstein's own mansion in New York. Prince Andrew gave a now famous interview where he claimed he had no memory of meeting Giuffre, but there is photographic proof of them together with Maxwell in the background. Prince Andrew is holding Giuffre close around the waist, pulling her towards him. She was apparently 17 when this picture was taken. The case was settled out of court in February 2022. The terms of the settlement are unknown, but Prince Andrew did donate a large unknown amount of money to Giuffre's charity fighting sex trafficking. Sadly, Giuffre died of suicide at her home in Western Australia in April of this year. She was just 41 years old and had weeks before been hit by a bus while driving her car and suffered life-threatening injuries. Her death was ruled unsuspicious, but tragic. So immediately, like, this photographic proof of this young woman with Epstein as well as Prince Andrew, and she also won lawsuits. She won lawsuits against Prince Andrew, or was otherwise, they settled out of court. Her evidence was also utilized in the case against Ghislaine Maxwell, which found her guilty of sex trafficking of a minor. So that in of itself is already a network, right? That is already
a network. Yeah, you're right.
Powerful people collaborating to victimize minors.
Now, do you know anything about Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yeah, of course. What do you mean?
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, I forgot you're the primo expert on this.
No, I mean, like, it's well documented. Like, she's the only one that's been prosecuted.
Yes, I know, but why was she involved? Because wasn't she a baroness or something?
Yeah, she was a baroness to a media mogul, basically, like a newspaper owner, basically. But basically, she fell in with Jeffrey Epstein very early, became his like personal manager and event organizer, basically, his personal assistant. And then she very quickly took on roles of procuring young women for him.
And what does she say about all of these events? What's her defense?
She's been just rather hush about it all.
Yeah, so pretty much just no real comments in court, just giving the classic death stare photos that you see in all of the court paintings of her. And yeah, nothing really to add.
Yeah, not as much as I know.
Okay.
Not as far as I know, I mean.
Yeah.
I know for a fact she herself argued, like her lawyer argued in the United States versus Maxwell case, that she was covered by a deal made with the prosecutors in 2008, basically saying that as she's a co-conspirator, she should be covered by the that sweetheart deal that Epstein had made early on.
Damn. Man, I would be so happy if I was a defense attorney and I found that out. God, that'd make your job easier.
But yeah, again, so victim who has provided compelling evidence suggesting that, you know, she was introduced to people like Donald Trump and such, as well as Prince Andrews. You know, she was obviously credible enough for the prosecution against Ghislaine Maxwell to result in a sex trafficking charge successfully, as well as a lawsuit against Prince Andrew that was settled out of court. Clearly credible enough. So there is already evidence that suggests that there is a network of powerful people involved here, including Prince Andrew. So Maxwell was found guilty of sexually abusing the victims and trafficking them to and with Epstein. A foundation begins to form that suggests that there is too much anecdotal evidence that other third parties were not involved in the crimes, though Maxwell remains the only individual convicted for some reason. We don't know exactly how many victims there were, but we know there were a lot. Pam Bondi once said that there were over 250, but the recent memo from the Department of Justice stated that the victim list exceeds 1,000 individuals. This, simply put, is a number far too high to be conducted by two individuals for several years and is a number more oft found in sex trafficking and crime networks. It is also extremely hard to believe that there isn't a network of co-conspirators when the victims who were instrumental in providing evidence that ended up convicting Ghislaine Maxwell of sex trafficking themselves alleged that they had been trafficked to other powerful individuals. I mean, again, just boil it down to that, right? They provided testimony that ended up with Ghislaine Maxwell being convicted. And they themselves, you know, ascertain that there was a sex trafficking network. Like, that should be enough evidence to compel most people to believe this, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, not to believe all victims or whatever, but when the victims themselves win the court trial, basically,
yes,
and it results in a sex trafficking indictment of the defendant, then clearly you got to look at what they're saying, their testimonies, and go, oh shit, they're talking about a sex trafficking network. Like, how can you then come out and say there's no, we can't find any evidence of a sex trafficking network? Anyway,
I don't know. Yeah.
So
sorry.
in a lawsuit filed by Jeffrey against Maxwell, which is Jeffrey versus Maxwell, it is claimed, quote, Miss Roberts claims she was ordered by Epstein to have sex with rich and powerful friends so he could blackmail them or exert pressure on them afterwards, end quote. This is directly in that lawsuit. This lawsuit itself was settled in Jeffrey's favor, and Virginia Jeffrey was awarded an undisclosed amount. As such, Virginia Jeffrey is considered a credible source of information regarding Epstein and Maxwell, so much so that the court proceeded in her favor. When you add in the fact that Maxwell v. United States ended with Maxwell's conviction for sex trafficking, the very thing that Virginia Jeffrey claims occurred, it becomes extraordinarily hard to believe that there isn't, in fact, a network of co-conspirators involved in an operation of this scale, contradictory to what the United States administration now claims.
Well, it is thorough. I do really applaud, and it makes a lot of sense why now we were told to do this on the weekend and that you needed more time to go through it all.
Yeah.
You've done a really good job here. And bar permitting the fact that I don't put a, I don't think that you are selectively just putting it all together like it is one of those Channel 10 did man land on the moon conspiracy theories. I think that you've actually, you know what? Like, because a lot of this time, I, not knowing much, have just been trying to play devil's advocate here. And honestly, man, you've got some pretty damn good responses to it. I like your end conclusion here, even though we haven't gotten to that yet, as I've just read the words in conclusion. But I don't know what else you could add.
In conclusion, let's just wrap this up and then we can discuss it. So in conclusion, let's boil down the questions that we asked at the start of this episode. Was Trump close friends with Epstein during the time period when Epstein was known to be actively committing the crimes? Yes. Was Trump himself shown to be included in the existing Epstein files? Undeniably so, though this does not indicate culpability, we have to say. So, was Trump complicit in the Epstein crimes, and would it be likely that he would be included in the presumed redacted Epstein files? It's certainly up for debate, and there have been no actions undertaken to assuage the public that it isn't a possibility. In fact, the opposite has occurred, as the actions paint a picture that seems to look more like a cover-up than anything else. However, we do, and this is, I'm throwing a bone here because it's, I'm not going to make the argument that this is just Trump. As I've said throughout the entire episode, it really indicates to me that there is a giant network of powerful people, powerful, wealthy individuals of a different class to us that are involved in this. It's not just Trump. So we need to keep in mind that the information currently being held by the United States government has also been held onto by the previous administration under Joe Biden. Given the volatility of these political machines, it has been suggested that if there was evidence that Donald Trump was complicit in Epstein's crimes, and there was evidence within the Jeffrey Epstein files to support that, the previous administration would have obviously shared this information willingly, as they would have been incentivized to do so. The counter to this argument, however, is that the scale and culpability of this so-called network of the elite and powerful is truly bipartisan. Yes, that's right. We found the one thing that the elite can agree on, and that is victimizing children. These political parties only ever seem to want to talk about releasing the files when it benefits them, and they can paint the other side as being involved. Then suddenly, when they're in a position to do just that, suddenly the idea of releasing the information becomes too bitter an idea to swallow. Jeffrey Epstein was friends with Donald Trump. That much is true. But he was also friends with Bill Clinton. So, it's undeniable at this point that his network of connections was truly very broad. The truth of the matter is that if this network is a genuine thing, and there was evidence to suggest that the elite and powerful were guilty of aiding and abetting Epstein, and they have in fact co-conspired on a grand scale to hide the evidence and protect one another, there is very little chance of us ever seeing the information and evidence ourselves.
Well, there you go.
That's because they control everything.
It really makes you think, Jackson.
Imagine if we get firebombed for this or something.
What? Just by saying I don't think that Trump's a pedo, but I could see it. That's enough.
I mean, I'm 100%. It's hard saying 100% because there's, without seeing, concrete evidence, I never like to say I'm 100%. But I will say I'm 100% on the side of there is some level of cover-up taking place right now. And I 100% do believe that Jeffrey Epstein did not act alone.
No, I absolutely believe that as well. I still think gathering the evidence, the Bill Clinton and Donald Trump link is weak. Probably they went there and had sex parties. I just don't think that they had it with underage girls. And I think that even them being implicated with having sex parties look at how much the Lewinsky scandal screwed Clinton's life. You could absolutely make hay with a regular orgy. It doesn't have to be a highly illegal orgy,
Yeah, but okay, but why would they be covering it up then?
Well, I think that as
If
you're
it
saying,
implicated
that
other people that weren't Donald Trump or Bill
exactly,
Clinton,
that's what
or
I'm saying.
et cetera.
Like, I think that it probably implicates other people, and also on top of that, as you were saying before, it seems to me like it is an intelligence operation, and as a result of it being an intelligence operation,
they're now using that information that they don't want to release publicly, obviously, because it's a benefit to their intelligence operations.
well, and also you just didn't, you would not want that ever exposed. I mean, if it is Mossad,
that would be a very
why
bad
the hell
look.
would it? Yeah, I know.
We were doing it for the greater good, we swear.
So it would be like a very. There's many reasons to cover it up. I think that the big celebrity names that are supposedly on this list, probably there might be a few. I highly doubt that it's like as extensive as the online conspiracies would have you believe. That's
Like
my
every
reading
person
of
in
it.
power.
Huh?
Like every person in power.
Yeah, like every person in power. You know, there'd be a few of them probably, but just, you know, when you read over and over and over, and it's just like, and this guy, and Stephen Hawking was there, and, you know.
There are pictures of Stephen Hawking with topless women all around him, I'm pretty sure, in his wheelchair, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, but they're not 13, right?
Yeah, no, they're not 13.
Yeah, so it's just like, to me, it seems like a lot of them went there for sex parties. The sex parties were like above board. It's still really embarrassing to say that you were in an orgy with Bill Clinton.
They're not hiding it.
Like just Trump and Bill Clinton double teaming someone is probably like, you know, you wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that out
I
there.
don't believe that they're not hiding it if it's not illegal. If there's not something substantially illegal. I just don't believe that.
So you think that the celebrities are involved?
Yeah, it's a question for me of how widespread it is. And for me, it has to be fairly widespread for them to all collectively agree to bury it across administrations.
But that's the whole thing.
And again, when you have people like Alan Dershowitz himself, who himself is accused of being in the files, coming out and saying, yeah,
my underpants
I've seen the list, I've seen the people involved, yeah, there's a network, etc., etc. And yeah, I might have been there, but my underpants stayed on, etc. Like, it's too much noise, there's too much smoke and fire. And then the very same people who claim to agree with that fact then come in and say, no, look elsewhere. Don't worry, we looked, it's fine. You don't have to look anymore, guys. Trust us.
Well, like, you know what's a very like the BET version of this, I suppose, with Diddy's parties. What's the deal with that? There's a lot of celebrities that are implicated in it, but how many of them actually did anything illegal? Tons?
Yeah.
So they're all in on it.
Yeah, I mean, once you're in that system, I genuinely think you're too powerful to care about morals and ethics.
I suppose you could be right. And also it's just a thing of like, well, you know, in this environment, everyone's doing it, so when in Rome.
Yeah. What was it? There was an interesting story I was reading the other day. This was a case back in the early 2000s about the, what was it called? Pretty sure it was like the sex search scandal, where a person would call a bunch of like fast food restaurants and pretend to be a police officer and make the manager strip search female employees.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Employees. Yeah, you remember that? And just because the person on the phone, the other side of the phone, had some level of authority or perceived authority, the manager would just consistently and regularly dispel all ethics, morals, and any kind of like rationality in their brain, and instead just appeal to the authority and do whatever that was asked of them. So, if not exactly the same case, obviously, but or idea, but if, let's say, someone goes to a Diddy party and everyone's doing it, and everyone's like, "Hey, you want to do this? You want to, take part?" I mean, perhaps there's some kind of weird mental phenomena that goes on that compels them to take part. I don't know.
Man, look, okay, so conclusion is generally it's pretty damn obvious that the FBI is covering something up. And it's really just a question of to what degree.
Yeah. And if the entire premise of this episode is Donald Trump in the Epstein Files, I mean, yeah, he is.
Yeah, he just is.
100% is.
Yeah.
The question is now the level of culpability that he and other wealthy, powerful people have. And I guess that's where you and I disagree to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not out of the realm of possibility that they all are. My only thing is that there's probably a bunch of people that just do not have high profiles that are in on this, that are very powerful and influential.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of the time. It's just, there's a great saying that says true power is silent.
Oh, damn. That's true. That's deep, man. Dropping wisdom on us.
It's just like, at the end of the day, I don't really think that Donald Trump and Bill Clinton were all that powerful. They're obviously more powerful than the average citizen on the street. But there is just a bunch of deep statey actors out there that I do think, really do pull the levers of government and corporate power.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would absolutely imagine that they would be implicated in this.
Yeah, like I was saying at the start, like I think someone at some point owned Donald Trump. Like he was obviously in a lot of debt at some point, and a lot of powerful people do owe other people for being powerful, and it's about who are those people that own them.
Yeah,
how do they own them?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we have no way of knowing because it's not in their interest to be known.
Yes.
Not to get really tinfoil hatty or anything, but I mean, it's just. And Trump and Clinton are still powerful people, like just by nature of where they are and what they, what position they take in life. But that doesn't mean that other people don't also have power over them.
That's what I'm finding difficult. It's kind of difficult to think that Donald Trump or Bill Clinton ring up the FBI and say, bury this. It just doesn't seem to be like the nature of the office. Maybe more Donald Trump because he does act like a sort of Saudi sheikh. But generally, a United States president just...
No, I think the only way that this would work is if they were immediately involved in investigation and were able to quash the evidence gathering or otherwise remove the evidence from existing so that no one saw it in the first place, right? Like, for example, a very effective way to do that is if you call the attorney general at the time and say, yeah, just stop the investigation because it's an intelligence gathering operation asset. We just need to stop investigating that. So yeah, you guys just don't investigate anymore. Cool, good. All right, pull all your police forces out, and then they go in and remove all of the evidence themselves. I know it's very conspiratorial to say that, but that's one way I can see that happening.
Yeah.
In fact, as we know, there was political pressure on investigators in the 2008 case to stop their investigation due to a perceived intelligence gathering operation being taken place. So you could convince people to do that through power, through authority.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. And thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, hope it was a very comprehensive deep dive and gave you an overview on everything. I tried to be as unbiased as possible, and also the fact that we've hammered home on Donald Trump in this episode. Like, that's how I wanted to kind of structure everything. It's really not the most important aspect of this, honestly. The most important aspect is the fact that there probably is just a network of powerful people involved. But obviously, given the news at the moment and everything that's going on in the administration, it seemed like a good hook, perhaps, to frame everything in that kind of way. But again, I do want to stress that this is very much so a apolitical, basically bipartisan thing at the moment, where there are people from all walks of life, all avenues of life that are implicated in some way or the other, potentially in this network. It's not like it was just Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump doing this. No one's making that claim. There's clearly something more extensive here. And what's frustrating to me is that it is just a political game at the moment. Like I said in that conclusion, the parties themselves make a big fuss when they're not in power, that just release the Epstein Files, and then they get in power and nothing happens because obviously they are both implicated to some degree, and it is in both their interests not to let the Epstein Files out. And like you see it with the Democrats at the moment. They've released constant tweets being like, release the Epstein Files, release the Epstein Files. The Epstein Files need to come out now from official Democratic channels, like Democrat social media and stuff. And they've had the last 4 years of power. Ever since they were there from 2020 to 2024 during prime time when they could have released those files. So why were they not released then? And suddenly now they want them released? It's very frustrating that it's basically just become a game when we're talking about potentially the global elite having some form of child, CP network, basically, of victimizing young children and sex trafficking individuals. And they're that powerful that they can get away with it. It's very distressing to think about.
It really is. Yeah, I fully understand now why this case is so significant. It kind of is like our JFK.
Yeah, we'll get into the members' questions right now. So you can sign up at official.men for a 7-day free trial to ad-free early access of Red Thread episodes. The people that support the show obviously mean so much to us. We really do appreciate it. You go over there, you sign up, 7-day free trial. You can ask us questions for the next Red Thread episode, and then we'll read them on the show and answer them to the best of our abilities. This first one comes from Pacey. Do you think at this point we'll ever get answers? I'm starting to feel hopeless there will ever be any. Not until everyone implicated is dead. And even then, I don't think so. Like it's going to be like a JFK scenario where everyone involved in that conspiracy needs to have been dead for a long time before we ever get any information. And at that point, all of the information is going to be so heavily destroyed probably, or otherwise obfuscated, that it will be hard to lend them any level of credibility for sure. So,
well, I remain hopeful that there will be something released on this because, as you're saying, a network like this that was running for so long with so many people involved in it, you would imagine that there would be some leaks. And the other thing is, with the JFK assassination, really, only a few people needed to know about that. This one, I think, has more of a chance of something happening with it.
What's interesting, though, is this is like a form of weird social mutually assured destruction. If one domino goes down, everyone goes down. Every single person has, again, the incentive to keep the peace.
Incredible.
So Jeremy Rivera asks, do you think that Virginia Giuffre's suicide coincides with the government's refusal to release the files? So basically, like, is the suicide of Virginia Giuffre as contentious as Epstein's suicide? Was it essentially murder? Before she died, she was in a bus accident, and I can't imagine her quality of life after that fact was any good. I guess you could argue, was there some kind of assassination attempt during the bus accident? But I don't know enough about it, honestly. What I will say is that if this network does exist and they have that much power, I don't think it's above them to pull off suicides.
Totally.
Duel asks, if there is no client list, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? All capitals letters. And yeah, I mean, 100%. If she's found guilty of sex trafficking, that kind of implies a network of some kind, right?
Yes.
Who is she sex trafficking to? Just specifically to Epstein only?
Yeah, what's going on there?
I don't think that's sex trafficking. That's more just like accomplice. Sex trafficking, I feel like, really involves some kind of organization. Casco asks, since Epstein was killed during Trump's first term, and now it looks like they're burning all of the evidence during his second, is Trump the most likely person to have killed him in the first place? And do you think all of the evidence will ever see the light of day? As we just said, probably not. But also, again, I don't think it's just like it's a Trump thing specifically. I don't think that the Democrats were in power for 4 years. They had all the evidence at their disposal. And they looked at it and said, Trump's name's in here. Let's just release all that. Again, I think it's a mutually assured destruction thing. I really don't think the evidence exists anymore to a recoverable degree. I don't think they're holding on to it. I think if the wealthy, powerful people found Jeffrey Epstein's vault of evidence, they would have purged that shit immediately, freeing themselves of it. again, it's like mutually assured destruction. They're all in it together, in my opinion. Zodiacal Bong asks, how do you even go about researching a case like this where the evidence is clearly doctored before being released to the public? It wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't easy, even though it was like, we know all of this information and all of this information is vetted by independent people a lot of the times, and it's all out there. Just putting it in order is rather difficult because there is so many different things that come out and you have to scrutinize everything heavy. And
what an appropriate question from someone called Zodiacal Bong.
Yeah, I don't know. It was hard. It was hard. I don't really have anything to add. Tristan.
No, neither. It's interesting that they're coming up with the same conclusions, though. Sorry, though, Jackson.
It's all good. Tristan asks, are you surprised, Jackson? Are you surprised? No, I'm not surprised. Are you surprised, Jordan, by any of this?
I'm surprised by the extent of it.
Yeah.
And I'm also surprised by the amount of people that have come out and said quite concrete things that have respectable positions.
Yeah.
That's what I do find surprising.
Yeah, again, Elon Musk said Trump was literally in the files, whether he was referring to the files that already exist or whether he was in the broader, deeper files that people presume exist. That's a pretty good indication. I mean, benefit of the doubt, maybe he meant like he's in the flight log, so he doesn't want to release the flight logs because it makes it look bad, even though those files are already out there. Maybe. But I definitely think Elon Musk's claim was that there's more evidence about Donald Trump and other people that is hidden. Groomer says, I think a better discussion about the files since they've remained hidden through presidents from both parties would be, does Israel have something to do with them? Because honestly, why would he say he was going to release them the whole campaign if he knew he was in them? Well, I think he thought that he could get away with just doing what has been done right now, where they come out and say, yeah, there was nothing in them. Like, I think that was a completely valid strategy in the administration's mind, where they could make all these claims and then come out and say, look, we investigated it and nothing was found. Also, the Israel stuff is a pretty good hook. And if we do another episode on the Epstein Files, I think that's going to be the next hook about the blackmail angle and whether or not there is a international kind of facilitation of this network, or if there is an intelligence gathering apparatus at play here of foreign governments. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think that honestly, like, there's really not much more to say about it because it's just the same little like tenterhooks. Like it just seems to be caught at that one point, that one juncture. Look, man, I think that you've really just covered this up, and I think that you've covered it, and yeah, I think honestly that's probably the most likely. I think the most likely thing is that Mossad has something to do with this. The reason that I'd be saying that is because if all of those dominoes are in effect, that both major parties are implicated, he, quote unquote, killed himself in prison. You have people saying that it is a foreign intelligence operative that's doing it. This is a common tactic that is used to blackmail people of prominence. And the fact that Epstein kind of just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It all leads to an intelligence asset.
That's a massive part as well, that he basically came out of nowhere and was able to rise to such historical prominence. Yeah. Well, that could be an interesting episode to explore in the future. Let us know if you guys want us to do an episode about, is Mossad involved? And of course, when we release this, we are putting ourselves at danger. They may take us out before that episode releases. So if we do mysteriously die under odd circumstances, just take that as proof. Just take it as proof.
Yeah, and, do us a favor. Click the like button for that video.
Make it count.
A post-human like, yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, out of all the topics that I've done on Red Thread, this is genuinely the one where I'm like, people that talk about this are putting themselves at danger potentially.
You like this topic a lot, don't you?
Why? What do you mean?
Well, it's just like you really went the extra yard for it. You seem to know it as well. You seem to be like, this is a Jackson classic.
There's people out there that know way more about it than I do, but also, yeah, I mean, it's just when you take the concept of our entire lives are being controlled by an elite group of people who themselves are not beholden to the same laws and morals and ethics that guide the rest of us. It's just an evil idea that it just. I don't like it. I don't like it. I know, controversial opinion, but hey, maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe it's not a good thing to be ruled by pedophile elite.
Take with that what you will. Not bad. Not bad at all. Honestly, Jackson, thank you for going through it.
No, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Jordan, for being here to discuss it with me.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
I do hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a lot of listening to me reading, but, you know.
No, but that's the whole thing. At the very least, I was getting educated out of it. I think I'm pretty much the only person on the internet that would be. This is the Avril Lavigne episode all over again.
We did get a lot of good Donald Trump impressions out of you, so that's good.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to say that I didn't carry the show, but you definitely helped, Jackson.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening at home. Your support means the world. Patreon.com/theofficialpodcast and official.men for 7-day free trial over at official.men. If you want to join our network of shows, we've got a bunch of shows over there. If you're looking for more myself and Jordan, we have a few episodes of us watching bad movies. It's very funny. People love it. Go watch that. Our previous episode, we watched, what did we watch? We almost watched a porno together, which would have been cool. But unfortunately,
yeah, I know.
The random
got in the way.
Used,
yeah.
the random will we used to dictate what movies we watched did not land on that. Instead, we watched a movie about another pedophile, in fact. Honorable Men, starring a guy who self-directed and self-starred in a movie where he makes out with borderline underage individuals in some kind of weird, really bad power fantasy that he created. So if you want to watch us laugh at that, official.men, 7-day free trial, go watch that.
Yeah. Go look at us. It's pretty much just almost based on a true event. POV Epstein is what that should have been called. Yeah. It's fine.
It's a guy trying really hard to be as close to
living
Epstein
that
as possible.
life.
Yeah. But doing so with a shit job.
Yeah.
A bad 9-to-5. Jordan, what you plan any shows soon?
Probably. I think I've got Geelong going, if you're there. If you even know where that is. I've got Toowoomba. Jesus, all the metropolitans. Oh, I've got one in Brisbane. Check out the ones in Brisbane and Newcastle. Not Newcastle in UK. I really feel like I'm talking to about 1% of the audience here, but there you go.
If you're in Australia or if you want to visit Australia to see Jordan specifically do a show about aliens, go check out the links below.
In regional towns. Yeah.
The live show is great. Go watch it. Also, just go check out his channel, obviously, or if you're watching his channel right now, subscribe.
Yes, do that.
Yeah, he does great content. Great content. Very funny content. So go check it out.
It's very nice.
Other than that, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Lots of love.